Dramatics, welcome back. So we are going to do something different with this little bitty drama. So
bitty being an understatement.
Well, it's a long drama, but we are going to discuss up to the midway point of Dream Within a Dream. Now, at this point, we currently have watched up to episode 20, and according to Vicky, they were saying that it was going to be 40 episodes, and they're still premiering as of us recording this right now, which I probably won't post until a little later on. And I think by now they're going to be premiering episode 30, 31 tomorrow. I guess, Dramatic Bestie, what have you thought of the drama so far?
This drama has been so entertaining from start to finish. You think, okay, she gets trapped in her own script or whatever that she's reading, and you can tell she just wants the easy life. She wants to do as minimal work as possible.
I get it.
And then, the whole irony of her having to put all this work and effort into not dying.
Yes.
And trying to change the fate of her character, because she's like, I'm not going out like that.
Mm-hmm.
But, every single time she thinks she outsmarts it, it's some other thing happens that changes things up. And the comedy of it, we keep saying this, or at least I keep saying it. I'm like, it reminds me of a very hilarious anime. I can see an anime adaptation of this, or at least it feels like it's been inspired by anime in terms of the slapstick comedy and some of the archetypes and tropes. It's very, very funny.
Yes.
And when she's acting, quote unquote, it's really, really terrible, but it's so fun to watch this couple, and each person, they have their own, motivations and things and how they do things, but seeing how he falls for her and she's like, you are bad, you're evil, you mistreat people, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, that's not who I am.
It's that's not the real story. It's one of those dramas of definitely things can be deceiving, but at the same token, it's not quite that way considering how she came to be in there in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why we didn't decide to do this, episode by episode, like we have done for other dramas, is that there's a lot of diction that's just thrown at you episode 1,
right? Where
you just I don't know what's going on. There's a lot, and I'm and that was just from his agent talking,
right?
But I'm after a while, if you go back and watch it, you're still kind of what is this? But once you get into the story, there's just so much, I guess, that changes, so many characters that come in and out and everything else. It's kind of hard to keep track without going on to each episode recap an hour and 2.5 hours. Now we've done that for before we get married, but that was worth it.
Yeah.
But when it comes to this, I think it's okay for us to do this at the halfway point, even though our thoughts are all over the place. But this drama is sometimes all over the place. But I love it because it's so freaking great and chaotic. I love it.
It's chaotic in a good way, because you see Yimang is chaotic herself, or at least the character, who she is as a person, the real actress, she is chaotic. Because she's just I just want to live in a life of luxury. And I just want to chill. And so, her I like how her fashions are very ornate to reflect who she is.
Very extravagant.
Not the person she's playing, but she's just extravagant. Everything's luxurious. And she has no qualms whatsoever. There's no she's very, what's the word? Uncouth. She's just kind of wild, chaotic. Everywhere she goes, she just is so, big and grand, and, all of the she's a little spitfire. Wherever she goes, there's always something going down. And so, it's, funny seeing her demeanor, and she's so chaotic and funny, and her little quips and everything. Everyone in the drama kind of just accepts this is just who she is. She's a little bit crazy, but I like her. And seeing her and play up her own comedic timing and stuff with his deadpan, serious, straight man persona.
But also schoolboy crushing, smitten look.
The sarcasm, the little smirks and stuff. Their little banter and play off of one another. It's so, so good.
So practically the whole, I guess, gist of the drama is that Yitong's character gets transmigrated into this script that she is currently the female lead of. They had a meeting in the modern day and had this discussion, and Lu Yuning's character is sitting there fiddling with his booze beats while his agent is up here like, well, in 900 pages of this, or 900 scenes, he's only in this many, and he only said like 1,000 and something words, or sentences or something along those lines. And up there, like, dictating, like, he needs to be, like, a bigger star. His part needs to be bigger and broader. We need to feel a lot more sympathy for his character, especially he's the protagonist. Mm-hmm. And, of course, like, she, as the female lead, was essentially hired from the Z-list. Since she's a less than, then he can pretty much conquer the entire script and be, you know, the main star of it. So when she goes home and there's like a big storm, I think she like is trying to close her window and then lightning strikes and then she's transported into the script. The thing about is also during the script, she of course has read from start to finish. And the original male lead in the original draft is terrible.
He's evil, like the evilest of evil.
Yes.
We find out that she's like a child actress or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing she does, she's sitting down reading through the script and making commentary. And it like clips to specific episodes and different circumstances that are going to come into play later. Mm-hmm. But like it mentions very specific story beats that certain things are supposed to happen. Where, you know, especially like her character is basically shafted. And so it's like those different beats come to mind. It's like, okay, episode 8, this sort of part, like this thing happens. She finds out her sister is sleeping with the male lead or whatever and all this other stuff. And she gets betrayed in this other episode and all these other things. So it's like funny when she gets transported and her mindset is, okay, well, you know, I'm going to make sure I'm not going to die. I'm not going to the way she did, because her character basically is written to die, essentially, and be discarded by the male lead. And so she kind of chooses to change her own destiny.
Or try to,
in a sense. What was interesting about the script, you know, Nanfang, I think that was his character, the actor.
Yes.
Yeah, and while he's playing with the prayer beads and his agents, you know, rattling off all these different things that are wrong with the script, you know, you could definitely tell that the script writers are like, yeah, we try to play at the drama. You know, they're just trying to get something out. You know, they're just stirring the pot with all these tropes. And it's like, oh, you know, oh, it's this scene. Oh, it's this part where the heron does this and blah, 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 blah.
And they're just like, you know, the fans really love this, especially like, if only you've been on Reddit. Like, let's discuss.
And it's like trash. Like,
yeah.
It's actual 0 ratings trash. And so when she gets transported into it, and she's just like, okay, well, for number one, I have to prevent my own death. And like she has those main, I think it's like 8 story beats that she just figures out like, okay, these are the turning points of the drama as a whole. These are the things that I have to sort of like figure out how to work out. Mm. And the first one is just her not dying in the...
Well, because it's like when she gets into this life, she was like, oh, I'm living lavishly and just like sit there and eat and chill out and like not worry about anything. Because it's like, if I don't marry anybody, I won't have to worry about the fate that's awaiting me. It was like, oh, it was like essentially her wedding day to Chu Wei-hung. That is her childhood sweetheart. They have been practically engaged for like, 18 years?
Yeah, since childhood.
And this is like ordained by the king. Like, this is an edict from the king that the Song family and the Chu family would be united in marriage. And so they have been childhood sweethearts when he was off to war, because he's like this fighter or general. Along with his father, they wrote letters to each other like practically every day. It's one of those sweethearts, but of course now new ma'am has entered the picture. Yeah. So of course, like all those feelings and sweetness and all that stuff, totally disregarded. So we're starting fresh. But she's just like, you know what? If I marry him, that means I don't have to marry the protagonist, which if I marry the protagonist, that means instant death for me.
Exactly.
So she's getting ready, like her maids come in, they're just like, oh, it's time for us to get you ready for your marriage. And she's like, okay, cool. And so she goes out and y'all, it seems like there is... It's one of those things where she, like, accidents happen to take her out because, you know, her marrying him is never supposed to have happened in the original plot either.
Right.
So her neck gets broken, like, time and time again of them getting her in the little carriage thing to get her down the street. She walks into, like, his residence and like, signs are falling out the sky and whatnot. And so eventually when she eventually wakes up again, because it restarts each and every time. It's like Groundhog's Day.
But from hell.
I mean, hell unprecedented. And so she's up there going through all these booby traps of life, trying to tell her, like, no, this isn't supposed to happen for you, doll. Sorry, but not sorry.
Right.
And so by the time she wakes up, she notices that the plot has reset. She's no longer waking up on the same wedding day. It kind of like starts, I guess, like months before. Now we get into the gist of the plot. And of course we have Liu Yuning's character, Nan Hong, which is kind of like the same as his name because...
it was basically created around that actor. So, and I kind of wondered about, like, did they do that on purpose?
Yes.
Because the actor is so dumb that, you know, it's one of those things where the actor would be called George, and so you call the main character George or something, you know, to that effect.
Yeah, I don't think it's, like, necessarily dumb, but probably just, like, overimportance. He's the main star, and even when they walked out of the office, like, you know, in the modern day, he had a group of fangirls waiting outside for him. So, like, he is a big deal, but it seems like one of those things where it's just more like just inflate his ego, I think, and to flatter him. But with his agent telling the script writer to redo the script, while she's in the story, she notices a lot of beats are still the same, but there's a lot of things that are different. And sometimes scenes are changing right around her.
In real time.
And so you suddenly see, like, her or Nun Hung up there stopping. All of a sudden you hear, like, a typewriter going, and then they have to, like, do the scene as the script writer is doing it in real time, like correcting or editing in real time. I guess, like, because it kind of has a little bit more of that anime slant to me, like, because you were saying, like, all throughout, like, this is very much, like you had said, anime coded.
And I hope I wasn't bothering you saying that.
It was, because, like, until you said that, I'm like, you're absolutely right on the money.
I just like that, you know, it kind of knew how to poke fun at itself in its own tropes. It's like, oh, this is where the male lead is gonna do this, and he's gonna do some dramatic pose for the first kiss, and da-da-da-da. And, you know, you have characters who, straight men, and I like that, you know, Nan Hong, he's kind of the straight man to her wild ways. And what's so funny is because she's in a modern day girl back in time in this story, a lot of her mannerisms, like, she seems very uncouth and rude, and she's talking, like, about, oh, this is how the script is supposed to go, this is male lead energy, and everybody's like, what the hell is she talking about?
Right. Because she's bringing all these, not only just, like, modern day terms and things into the story that doesn't exist, like boba tea and all that stuff.
Yes.
Like, not only just that, but she's up there introducing things that is conducive to the world that was built around these people. Like, a protagonist, a male lead, a second male lead, paparazzi, and like script, and they're just like, what are you talking about? And that's the thing, it's just like, it's foreign to people that were born out of a script, let alone the historical drama, you know. And with Nan Hong, he's the seventh prince, and with this script rewrite, the script writer is making sure that his character is perceived in a more positive light, because that was what the
stipulations of the agent
had definitely set forth. And you are seeing the rewrite and the reworking of it here, because y'all, it does pull on your heartstrings. And of course, like, you know, the awesome acting of Liu Yuning is definitely shining through in this one. Like, we already had appreciated a lot of his acting in Prisoner of Beauty. It definitely shines through here. You would not be disappointed in watching another one of his dramas in this one, especially with us even being at the halfway point. We are just very engrossed in the story. It is definitely a page turner, no pun intended.
Especially when he starts playing his alter ego, and I was like, oh, this is really good.
The dashing.
All you have really are just his physicality and his eyes as the giveaway, because he has a mask on. And so it's like, that's all he has to use to emote. And he does such a good job. You could tell when he's hurt, when he's angry, when he's elated, when he's being smiling. A little sarcastic little shit, which really works for him.
He does. Because I'm like, he's already like very emotive, just his face in general.
Yeah.
And of course we had seen that in the little bits that we got in, you know, Prisoner of Beauty, but now he's kind of working with a different dynamic, because not only is he working with dual personalities, but he also has to work with one with the mask. But I also find like he's also working with the mask being his original self in the script too.
Exactly.
Because he kind of has to keep himself and his inner thoughts, inner feelings to himself, especially when he deals with people like his father.
Yeah, and so this poor man, okay, so one of the things that we keep struggling with, and one of the things that is kind of frustrating, is that her character, because she had read the whole script, the original script before all the changes, she's only experiencing the rewrites as they're happening in real time. So she does not know that, the male lead has changed in a way for the better that is supposed to be a good thing. She knows this guy is evil. He's done X, Y, Z. He actually kills her. And it's such a cruel death.
It's kills her and chooses her sister.
Exactly. So there's already a preconceived bias against him and everything he stands for. And so even when he's trying in his alter ego, trying to do his Bruce Wayne Batman type thing,
but hotter.
It's very much giving freedom fighter, it's giving Robin Hood energy, and I guess we'll talk about that later. But she keeps fighting against herself to be no, not him. He's evil. He's dastardly. He does all these terrible things. And you can see his alter ego character. He's just really? That's what you think of me? And he has to hide that. But he's that's not who he is. And da-da-da-da-da. And maybe you need to take a look at what's around you and stop trusting your judgment and blah, blah, blah. You don't blame her for her feelings, the way that she feels about Nan-hung, because she's I already read the whole damn script.
And I already know this way. And it doesn't help when a lot of the beats that is already predestined, there's key scenes that the script is going to follow regardless of what the scriptwriter changes, because I think they're so dynamic that they're going to be the anchor points in the story.
Exactly.
So it doesn't help that a lot of these beats still will hit that, but now we're finding as the story unfolds, it hits a different kind of way. But even with that, even in the beginning episodes, especially I would say up into the mid-teens, it's still leading the fact that regardless of everything that happens, and this is from her father, his brother, Guhan, everybody conceives it to be, this is his fault. He could not be even in the city. He probably never even had thought about it or anything like that until she either brought it up because she had prior knowledge of the script, or other people were doing orchestrations like his uncle or anybody else around him. It makes him look guilty because everyone has already painted his character as evil and never do well, never do right, or anything like that. And so he always suffers most of the time for choices made by other people, either by their prejudices or by their orchestrations.
Exactly. And the thing is, he's built up a reputation for himself as this really great military strategist and leader. So he has military victories, but he's kind of known to be a little bit reckless about how he handles his men and going against all these odds and not thinking about the people and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's we find out eventually the reason why he's doing all these things is because he's really trying to get his father's approval and his father's love.
And screw his father. I'm sorry.
And, this guy, he's just unlucky from the beginning.
Yes.
But we have him trying to basically gain the favor of his father who fucking hates him.
Do you think he's still chasing favor? Or it's just more he had said, a roll of the dice each time I go to see, if I practically live another day.
I think part of it is that maybe that was his original plan at first, but it shifted because at this point he's treading water, because every day it's this man could kill me at any moment. And eventually we do find out about his mother being alive and well.
Which was surprising. It seemed from what all it was saying, it seemed as if she had died long before another reason why his father doesn't like him.
Right.
His stepmother had passed. So that's what the thoughts, I guess, was going that way. But then you see mom pop up magically somewhere in the teen episodes. I'm so she does exist.
And so I was okay, well, was she kind of exiled a little bit? What's going on? Well, of course, he kind of wants, finally some acknowledgement of, I'm not a failure, I'm not useless, I'm not a jinx, but also protecting his mother, protecting his own self, kind of building up his own, I don't want to say clout, but his own security.
Yeah.
If and when the time comes that he can no longer be part of this family anymore, he can't be a prince anymore because his dad is just upping the ante every single time.
Moving the goalpost all the time.
He can't win. He can't do anything right. When he does something right, he's being too ambitious, and he's oh, you're trying to take my crown. You're trying to take my empire and my seat.
Or trying to do like an overreach for his bird because he has an idiot of a brother.
18th Prince is
adult.
He's an adult, but...
No, he's adult.
Oh, yeah, adult, D-O-L-T.
Yeah.
But, like, he is coddled and spoiled and has always been favored, so he's never had to actually try for anything. He is bumbling and foolish and is constantly causing stuff that, unfortunately, Nanhang, he takes the fall for, partially because, again, Dad is gonna fucking hate him regardless. We see elements of 18th Prince fucking up, and not just in a small way where it's just like, okay, we can just keep this between us. It's like gargantuan mistakes that affect like hundreds of people. Like there's one point where he gets drunk, accidentally sets off fireworks, burns down half a village. People's lives are at stake, and you know, instead of having him actually make up for what he's done and actually atone for his behavior, you know, make him go out there and help rebuild houses, make him go out there and apologize. Guess who has to step in and take the brunt of the blame? And let's cover it up. Let's keep it between us. And it's your fucking fault that he ended up like this because he wouldn't have gotten drunk had you not done this. And da-da-da-da-da. Like,
it's one of those things where he's never, like you had said, he never got accountability put on him for anything. Even like the king had asked one of his advisors, it's just like, did I pretty much do more harm than good in like protecting him that way? I'm like, yes, because you made a dumbass.
Yeah.
A very self-centered,
spineless, weaselly.
Because he pretty much hides either behind his father or his cousin. And his cousin is the second male lead.
Yes.
Just so you know. But there's so many things with the second male lead. He's so intricate. So many people throughout the story, that is for sure.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate thing with him is that with this 18th Prince, of course, like the 18th Prince kind of uses him kind of like a way to shield against his brother, because you can tell he has like a lot of insecurities because he knows that he's not about anything. He's not about ish at all. But like any opportunity he has the ability to, he'll be like, well, Nanhang is up there trying to like do this and this. He's trying to take my throne away from me. He's trying to do this. He's probably plotting and doing everything. Like he does that at every turn.
Every opportunity.
Any opportunity. And sometimes like what his father's talking about doesn't even have to do with his brother at all. And like that's what is aggravating to me, because he's deliberately sowing discord.
I just hate how he also weaponizes Nanhang's strengths against him. He's like, well, he's so cunning and dastardly and does all these things, so he also feeds into his reputation. And it's like, you know, there's times where you could tell he kind of feels bad about it, but it's like, well, no, actually, it's because he's so cunning and all these, you know, he's so spineless and weak that it's just like, you know that you're not about shit, but rather than, hey, just stepping up and acknowledging, like, I could be a better human being, I could be like him, you know, he would rather throw him under the bus at any opportunity. So Nanhang has a lot more honor, a lot more grace than we realize, and even what Yiming realizes throughout the drama. And so, you know, we see like how cruel his father is and why he's been kind of putting himself on this weird self-sacrificing punishment. He's like, he gets blamed for everything. He can't do right. He can't do wrong. Right. Even if he does do something amazing, it's not good enough. So the goalposts keep shifting. And it's like, you know, having a very narcissistic, abusive asshole for a father that you cannot please regardless of what you do.
Right.
We see snippets of him as a kid where he's trying to please, and what's crazy is him, 18th Prince, and then Guihang kind of are raised similarly together like brothers, and you see flashbacks of them 19 or so years ago where we kind of see this friendship between them. And Hanfeng and Guihang, they are kind of beat by beat, like similar in terms of abilities and all this other stuff. And where Guihang gets praised by
by the king.
By the king, he's like, oh, you're just a murderer, and you're slaughtered. Like I remember, like when they were
he was kind of like it wasn't literally like a murder. He was like, you pretty much like you overdid it. You overkilled.
And
it's just like,
and they got the same amount of rabbits.
And of course, like his brother didn't get anything, and he was just like,
oh, you're so compassionate.
Yeah, so compassion,
so
was it magnanimous towards animals?
Yeah,
gracious towards animals. It's
like that's not true. He was just too incompetent to catch any.
Couldn't do crap, but that's the thing. He called him, and so that happened right before an unfortunate incident that happened with Nanhung's stepmother.
Yeah.
So, and that is the 18th Prince's mother. And we haven't gotten the full effect of what this is at the midway point.
Yeah.
And so she had him ride in the carriage. She's like, I will take you on a diverted path so he can catch more rabbits for her. And so apparently, like, they got ambushed and she got taken out with a lot of their other guards. And so he's the only one left alive. Mm-hmm. And so he practically blamed his son for setting him on this path and being pretty much like 11-year-old kid being the mastermind of taking out his stepmother. And so he slices at this child, like cuts his forearm because the child braces himself to block it, and the child is crying, "Father," and he's like, "Do not call me father ever again.
You're not my kid.
You are not my child." And of course he couldn't kill him because his advisor was like, "Look, he's just a boy. He would not be able to germinate this kind of plot to do this." And number 3, you cannot pretty much kill him because he's royal blood. You can't touch him.
No.
And so, since then, even in this modern day, he just says, "Your Majesty," or "Your Highness." He does not call him father ever again. Mm-mm. And so, a lot of times when he ever comes there, most of the time he gets on his knees. And even when it's his stupid ass brother's fault, he always shifts the blame onto himself to take punishment. And we'll get into his other character that he has. But he does have this other character to where we were just like, well, this other character kind of has his own separate entity in life outside of the palace. So it's like, why can't he go there? But when I think about it, I'm like, his mom is still there.
Yeah.
If his mom wasn't in the picture still, and that he had to make sure that her life was comfortable, then he probably would have been long gone to do something else instead of taking all that abuse, especially for an achievement and goal that's not really been suited to him. Right. And also, I guess he also has the ties of his family, the Gao family, that's attached to, apparently, like, his uncle, his mother's brother is still in play. And originally, we were just like, okay, cool, he has someone in his corner. Mm-hmm. Then the further you go along with the plot, you see that his uncle ain't about shit either.
No, his uncle is instigating stuff behind the scenes, and we were wondering if the assassination was somehow connected to him. We have not gotten the full picture yet, so we don't know. But his dad did mention, like, they were ambushed by assassins. So clearly he kind of blames Nanfeng for, like, leading them out there. Like, oh, it's your fault. You're the reason why they diverted from this path. You were part of this. And so...
And we're also, like, speculating the possibility that the Empress might have protected him from getting hit. And so that was probably the reason why she got taken out.
Yeah. Because she seemed like she was a very kind and gentle person. Like, even though she was aware of how abusive he was, like, she would be there to be like, hey, I know I'm not your mom, but, here, you can smile. It's okay. He never seemed like a child to me. Well, except for when he was hanging out with, like, Wei Hong and, like,
a little bit, but even when he was teaching Wei Hong how to ride a horse, he was very still, like, stoic and stone-faced. But there was elements where you get flashbacks of them playing together. Yeah. And then you wonder, with all of that, what happened to this friendship? Well, one of the reasons is because said Empress that got taken out, it's either Gui or is it Gu Hong, but that was his aunt. Yeah. With her being taken out, they essentially became enemies, and so he pretty much took up the mantle of believing what everyone said, that it was Nanhung's fault. And so with that, they separated as boys. And so it's kind of like left this cold hostility between them, because after that, Nanhung got banished to the cold palace and tortured, and food poison, starvation, everything. Mm-hmm. Of course, like, his mother is also, like, noble consort, so she's pretty much, like, hidden away, and apparently his father hardly goes and sees her. She's probably, like, one of those, like, political marriages that he was forced to marry so he can have closer ties to the Gal family. Of course, like, he doesn't respect her and he didn't love her. He loved the woman he lost. And I'm like, I'm not begrudging you that. Yes, that would suck. I absolutely 100% get that.
But you don't treat your kid like
that.
That
part.
And I think, too, I think even though he does not like Non-Hung, I think part of the reason why he has his mother alive is because it gives him another pawn to keep him in line. And so it's kind of interesting that we don't find out about the mom until, like, way into the story. We're like, oh, she's around.
That's
she's
what I'm like, you don't
living.
I'm like, I don't even remember hearing, like, bits and pieces about her being alive at all.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'm not sure if that was just deliberately held back by the real script writers as a plot twist, or maybe it was one of those things like we just missed it quickly.
Think they just mentioned that, like, she was just a woman who was just quiet as a mouse, is not going to accept the flow of things, and that was another rewrite, a change that happens, especially as she starts entering the picture and then figures out, like, oh, my boy's interested in someone. Guess what we're gonna do?
I mean,
we're gonna
ship ahoy, ship ahoy. A lot of the things that the drama script writer is rewriting is really making the characters stronger for it and more understanding, especially when it comes to Non-Hung. With the new change, of course, like with his abusive father and the dynamics there, how everyone else is like blaming him for this, that, and the third, for simply breathing. He's being blamed for something. And there's another element to him. Apparently, he has a Robin Hood type character to him. And it's like a masked individual. When he first appeared on the screen, I'm like, he looks like Kung Lao from Mortal Kombat. That's what he reminds me of.
He really does! And one of the funniest beats that happens early on in the drama is once the rewrites start happening, anytime someone tries to harm her, Non-Hung automatically goes against his programming to save her. So he can't kill her, and that's one of the main pillars of one of the first beats in the story is he cannot kill her, even though he wants to, because her character, at least in the beginning, is getting in the way of his goals, and she's kind of a threat to what he's doing.
Also, because she knew more, because she knew the script, like what his deal was. He was trying to like everyone's been getting their hands on trying to like forge this particular sword.
This weapon,
and so this weapon of the gods, essentially. And she knew that. And so he's like, well, how do you know? And then when he has like a party, like there's some kind of party at his place. And she, even before the rewrite, she was supposed to fall into the lake. And she does. And then he was naturally compelled to save her. That was what he was supposed to do anyway.
Exactly.
But the thing about this is that he does that, and then she was like, why did you save me? But then the writer starts rewriting things to where they suddenly lock lips. And so after that, he's just like, I felt like I was controlled to kiss her. It's not like I wanted to. What did you keep calling her? Witch!
Because like everything that she knows up to this point, no one else knows. They're just going by what they're programmed to do in the scripts. And I'm so sorry I keep doing that, but it's just so funny because like...
Because essentially, if it was back then, she would have been drowned or burned at the stake.
It's like, how do you know that? How do you know that this thing exists? What do you know? And so he naturally sees her as a threat to his own plans and is like, no, we gotta take this girl out. But because of the rewrites, he can't harm her. And so I think one of my favorite scenes early on is when she's kind of like putting him into a trap or whatever. She's like, okay, well, you can't kill me. But then she like pulls on a curtain. There's all these arrows. She's like, I can kill you, but if I try to kill you, guess what's gonna happen?
I mean,
it was just so funny. And I'm like, what kind of Looney Tunes shit?
Well, because it's like that was like a deal, I guess like a precursor or like an after effect of like one of the other stipulations that we find out about that rule coming forward. And like there was this one plot where the second male lead had escaped from jail because he had heard through the grapevine that Non-Hung was starting to make moves on his lady. And he couldn't abide by that. So he escaped from jail to find her, and then they find each other in the woods. And then, of course, like Non-Hung and his like whole clan finds them. And so as she was running away, he shoots an arrow at her. But then the scriptwriter starts typing away. I love, like, he looks off to the left, and then he's just like, oh, crap. And then he's compelled forward. And sure enough, by the time he catches up to her, he had already ran past the arrow.
It's so funny.
And it sticks through him too.
And he's like, what the hell?
Yes.
And so it's like they're conscious at least that something's going on, something is changing. They don't know why, but they can tell when they're doing things that are not in their original programming. Like they're conscious of that, but they're like, my feet are moving me forward. Like, what's happening? What's going on? Why am I doing
mostly
this?
Him,
it's
like,
mostly
or
him.
mostly them, like
yeah.
the main lead couple. Lee Hung is still kind of doing things like out of his usual programming. This is it. He's following his own trajectory. It's funny, like when it comes to that, and especially with all the verbiage and the new phraseology that she's introducing into the lexicon of this world.
Yeah,
that he's kind of like, what is going on? Like, is she bewitching me, or like, what is this? And then when he starts grasping onto it, even though he doesn't understand these words, he's just like, okay, this is something like beyond me, but it seems like something that she would do, or something that she would say, or something she would think of. So, like, you know, even with that, by the time we get into like the higher episodes, like, you know, that and like episode 10 on, it's kind of like, okay, she's the eccentric character to us. And so it's like, who else do you know who's wacky that might know this thing or whatever
exactly.
like that? So by the time he gets past it, like, okay, she's a witch, I need to kill her, I need to offer her, whatever. And especially when he finds out he can't do it because of that rule stipulation, that practically the Melody will have to come in and save her.
He's required.
He's required.
So even if he wants to kill her, he physically cannot, and anybody that tries to harm her, he is bound to like step in and protect her regardless of what happens. So it's like, okay, so once they get past that threshold, it's like, okay, I can't kill her.
Yes.
I can't.
Or have anyone else kill her.
Or have anyone else kill her. Like, all right, we got to get away from that. It's just so funny, like, with that first meeting when we first see, it's Lu Shilu, I think, is his character name.
Lu Shilu, even though, like, on Vicky, like, when we transferred onto Vicky, they call him Lee 16. I'm like, who is Lee 16? Who's Subject 16?
Subject 16.
But what is that?
His dark, well, I say dark, but his alter ego character. And yeah, it's like this weird mixture of like Robin Hood, Batman, and probably Zorro, where he's traipsing off, like he has his own little clan of people that... and
his own city.
His own city.
Which was also renamed something different, because I think it was like Moonshine or something, or Moonshadow on Vicky, but it was like Crescent City or something like that on YouTube. So like, it freaks me out when I see it on Vicky and they call it something else, because like, they have to do their own translation. So
it's just so funny, but like he has this whole like underground network of underlings and spies that are basically his minions. And what's crazy is like his actual princely self commands his own army, and they have all these different deeds and stuff. So he has people that are loyal to him on both sides of the fence. So the meeting the underlings, they're so funny because you have one that's very flirty and lazy and doesn't want to do anything. He's a nice little pretty boy, but that's like his second-hand man in that aspect. And then we have the quiet yandere that is like, I will fucking kill
murder. Murder like, is constantly on his mind. He was
so quick to be like,
kill her.
Kill the witch.
Kill her. Kill her right now. I mean, he wanted to kill her even before she even got on the boat to go there the first time.
Yeah, right? he was just like, no, we need to murder this girl. And then we have the kind of like goofy comic relief. Like, they're all silly. But I'm like, oh my God, these three, this would work so well as an anime. Like, if they decided they wanted to do it. But they're all very loyal to him, and they help protect his secret, as well as his actual manservant, Fugui, I think his name is. Yeah. And so, like, he has, like, this secret double life where in his princely duties, he's trying to stave off his, the king and his brother's efforts and all this other stuff. And now we have Imang in the picture throwing off all of his plans. Because he's like, look, I'm just trying to live another day. I'm just trying to get through life. You're making things harder for me, and I'm falling for you, and I don't know why. I don't know what all these little terms mean, but somehow you're important to all this. I have to keep you alive for some reason.
Yes.
But you have knowledge of the thing that I want, this weapon. And so, like, that's like the main, like, I guess MacGuffin of this whole thing is trying to get that forged.
But yeah, you're right about that. And I think like the thing that changes things for around him is while he's in his Shilu character, his mask character, because with that he's perceptive with other things, especially regarding her, because he does this dastardly thing of saving her the first night she's on his side of the world. What was it? It was a girl that got captured at the border and was being sold.
Yeah,
and so she got sold to this of a person, and then disgusting, and so she busts a bottle on him, and then they go take off running, but unfortunately by the time like they get far away, homegirl gets arrowed, but she's okay. She's okay, thank goodness. She's okay, because usually shots like that is almost always,
because I was like, she looked pretty dead to me, but okay.
I'm like, that looked like a fatal one. Yeah. And so but you find out later on it's not. She was taken care of, but as far as we know, since that, we have not seen her again. She's about to get attacked. Of course, like, he's rushing over to save her, and then he's just like, yeah, you can continue killing, wait like 15, 30 minutes, let me get far away, so I cannot come here. And of course, like, they were too eager to try and kill her again, and so here he comes back and attacking. And so with that, she kind of has like this hero worship of him, because he had gotten injured earlier by fighting Hui Hung earlier on the island, so she thought he got injured from that fight, and so she wanted to like tend to him. His little trio of three homicidal or lazy maniacs here, the Three Stooges, was trying to like shoot arrows and stuff at this lady, and so he has to block it because he cannot have her die. Right. And so she's immediately hero smitten by him. Yeah. And of course, so are we. And we're just like, understandably,
that's hot. That is so hot.
Oh, we said that's hot by like the man's entrance. Sorry about this, but I'm like, where's the three-way fanfic for this? Like, it was real. Both second male lead and, of course, the main male lead, very handsome men. Both, and so we're just like, both of them. So, like, every time, like, they're up there just posing and just looking, we're like, oh, he's so hot. Oh, they're so hot. I'm like, they can just be a hot sandwich. I know someone's already started the fan fiction. Don't lie to me. You have. I mean, absolutely. The reason why a lot of things that he was feeling or started to change for him was the way that she doted on him, gave him gifts. He got like a rabbit mask that he originally had thrown in his water pensieve over there. It ends up being like one of his treasured gifts he's ever got. She gave him treats, but this was like the first like mainstay she's ever made, particularly for him. Yeah. That he's kept hidden. Like, this is his treasure of hers. And so with a lot of her other eccentric qualities and quirkiness, really got him to fall in love with her or have feelings for her while he was in this Robin Hood type character. But the problem is that he was trying to be a viable candidate as his other true persona, but she was just seeing him as the mark of the devil. That was
demon. Come on here.
Pretty much demon. And so he was just trying to, I guess, appeal to her on both sides. More on the side of Li Shulu than anything else, because with that, he can kind of appeal to her, kind of like pick her brain apart, see where she feels about Nong Hong. And she's like, don't even talk to me about him. He's evil. There's nothing that will change my mind about him. Never, ever. And he's like, never, ever? It's
like for real.
For real.
And what's crazy is, too, because, Nong Hong, in her mind, is this villain. He has to be destroyed. He has to be killed. And so, like, throughout their whole exchange, she's trying to plot how to assassinate him. And so she's kind of making a pact with Li Shilu, because she doesn't know they're the same person, but they're making these plans on how to assassinate Nong Hong. And he's just like, damn, like, how can I convince her? Like, he's not bad. Like,
it's like, I'm not bad at all. It's like, a lot of it's been like circumstances, or like we have said, other people plotting this stuff in place in my name. When I didn't ask for a lot of this stuff to happen, it just does before I can even react, because he's usually like on the spot. He finds out about something. He's like, what the hell is just happening right now?
And what makes it so sad too, it's not just one person that's plotting things.
A lot of people.
It's like a lot of people acting in their own interest, and they just happen to fall like dominoes. And so it's like, it's not just one little itty bitty white lie. It seems like there's this whole conspiracy of people where he's like the ringleader in charge of it all, where it's like this weird 6 degrees of Nong Hong. It's like, oh yeah, he's connected. He started this led to this, which led to this, which led, and it's just like, oh my God, I'm just trying to live. I'm just trying to make it through the day.
That is all.
Because
he's like, I get all this just going to my father, let alone when I step outside the palace and I have to deal with all of this.
Right. And part of the reason why he gets blamed is because, again, he has a very, extensive war background. But one of the issues that we found out that links him and Guihong, he was supposed to be backup for Guihong's army when they were fighting, and he never showed up. Or there were carrier pigeons sent out that never arrived, and we were like, oh, so did they get intercepted? Did they get taken out? And we were thinking that maybe there was someone, probably uncle or the king, behind the scenes sabotaging it to make it look like
Nanhong was up to no good. So of course we already know that's the case, which is of course another deeper fissure when it comes to their relationship. And and now another one, a part of that is of course the tug of war between getting Yimeng in marriage. So, yes. And we were talking about this at length, and we had drawn a lot of other parallels when it came to the other drama we really love, Before We Get Married. When you get into the teen episodes, you start to question or wonder, of course, at this rate, who truly loves Yimeng more. And the thing about this is that, unlike Hao Yi, unlike him.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, and Lord, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of my nerves. Unlike him in that drama, where essentially Wei Wei was the woman that did it for him because she was convenient and she just happened
to be there.
She was happenstance woman, and she chose the lucky prize, a cup. Anyway, so bad about it.
Gosh,
anyway,
sorry.
We'll get back on that drama now that Vicky has included it back. But the difference is that when it comes to the sincerity of the love and appreciation and everything that Guihong has for her, I absolutely believe it 100%.
Yeah.
I believe legitimately he does love her. That does not have any doubt in my mind. However, it was a question for him, which does he love more, her or his honor? And that's the thing that really starts to get some parallels in, because we had noticed a scene where there was Nanhong was up there having a music fest at the Crescent City.
Yes.
And she was coming on the boat, and him and that god-awful 18 idiot prince was talking outside on the dock, and he saw her pull up, and she said hey, and he's like, oh, hi. And so her boat hadn't quite made it to the dock yet, and the prince was just practically barking and yapping. He reminds me of Scrappy Doo so much.
So annoying.
But he was essentially and so he went ahead okay, we need to go ahead and talk this quietly somewhere else. And so he ushers him into the city before her boat docked. We were talking about he didn't even come up to excuse me for a minute, can you be an adult for 1 minute, go up to her, escort her off the boat, and be like, hey, I'm so glad you made it. I'm going to go take care of a little business. I'll have your maid escort you in. I'll be with you as soon as I can.
Just to make sure she made it safely.
Right, safely on land. But his immediate thought was to go and placate his idiot of a cousin and take care of matters of state. That mattered first. But we do have to talk briefly about the scene at the music fest.
Yes.
So the theme on this, the music fest was a dance and song where most of the time they were pretty much telling about a particular battle that took place between and that was the interpretation that Nanhong's forces had put up versus what Guihong's forces eventually would do.
Yeah, and with this whole festival, part of it was planned because at this point we have Nanhong really starting to acknowledge he has feelings for her. And we have to remember, Yimeng is engaged to Guihong. So, proprietary reasons, we can't be, it's scandalous for him to try to pursue her while she's engaged with someone else.
But you know what's been crazy? And the king also eventually does bring that up too.
Right.
After all this, is the fact that it doesn't help that she's still been in the company of said prince lots of times by herself.
Yes, yeah, there's been a lot of impropriety, but, he wants to use this as an opportunity to, number one, expose Ohhhh for the person that he is, because we think that there is some... He's not outright evil, but there's traits that we notice that he's going to have some type of turn at some point. And we see certain things ravel over the course of the episodes where, during the Lantern Festival, there's fireworks and stuff. And in the middle of like what's happening, because 18th Prince F things up, he burns down part of the southern city. People are trapped and whatever. And instead of thinking logically and being like, okay, I gotta go get people out, his mind is on capturing
Li Shu.
Yeah, trying to capture him, because he's like, oh no, you are a villain, I have to arrest you. And so he's more committed to his sense of justice rather than helping the people around him, because that's one of the things that Ohhhh has made a point of. We have a responsibility to help people, and that's one of the reasons why Ohhhh has started to fall for her, because underneath that veneer of shallowness and vanity and I just want to live a rich, comfortable life, like, she genuinely cares about the people in the town, not just as her own character is supposed to, but like she's kind of gotten settled in, and she's like, we have to help people, we have to save people.
I think that's also just her in general. Like, these people shouldn't have to die anyway.
They should not have to die.
That would be her in and out of the story.
Yeah.
And, to him, that's a kindred spirit, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to help his people.
Exactly.
And make sure that they're okay. And so that was what he was concentrating on. He wasn't even looking for that. His first compulsion was to make sure there was like those kids trapped in an oil mill or whatever like that. He was trying to get them out before everything just imploded on each other.
Right.
And Ohhhh was there while he's up there like, we have to arrest them. Like, they are outsiders. What are they doing here? They're up there causing chaos. And it's like, no, y'all need to be helping the people put these fires out and whatnot. Like, worry about all this later. Like, trying to arrest them.
We can find them later, but we have an immediate... Because, like...
right now.
There's a massive fire that has broken out. And up until this point, Ohhhh has had to try to prevent... Because it's one of the major beats in the story, where there's this massive fire, there's this catastrophe. And she's like, no, we gotta prevent this.
Yeah.
It's kind of like giving that So Raven a little bit, but we see the cracks in Ohhhh where not only does she have to prod him into doing the right thing at the moment, but he's fighting and his sword gets cracked, and it's his father's sword. His father passed away. And,
he passed away during that
passed away during the very battle that Ohhhh did not show up for, because again, he never got noticed. And so there's that grudge, but his sword gets, broken. And again, he's so frozen in that moment on his sword and not focused on the people around him that need his help. And so it's like we start to see, like, maybe he's not so righteous as we think he is, because the second male lead, normally they're the upright, upstanding, perfect, can do no wrong, but they don't get the girl. But for whatever reason, he's not as virtuous and as upstanding as we think he is. He's not as selfless as we think he is.
That's the thing, selfless.
He's more committed to his own ego and sense of justice. He loves her, but not as much as he loves his own self-interest. And so we start seeing those little cracks, and I think he uses Ohhhh uses the music festival as an opportunity to expose him and embarrass him.
Because he wanted to embarrass him. He wanted for her
to break up.
Or to see he's not quite what he seems. Even with that, like, that's to me like his little, like,
scheming side.
Side of it, because it comes with a little bit of selfishness and childishness, really.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things, like, I want to make sure that he looks like a buffoon, so you choose me. You see that I'm the better man. I'm like, no, that hatred goes a little deeper than that, my guy. Like, we're going to have to take several more episodes to get past it. Again, I guess, like, his people, like, his main servant guy shows up, and they start, I guess, like, the play about the battle that Ohhhh had lost. unfortunately, it looks like it's not really an embarrassment towards Wee Hung himself, but towards the troops, which wasn't something he did not intend. It's one of those things where, like, I'm sure, like, they was like, we're going to put on a show and we're going to embarrass him, but we're not going to tell you what we're going to do.
Right.
They just put it on, and he's just like, what the hell?
Yeah, his manservant, Fugui, like, bless his little heart, because there's some weird power dynamics. He instigates a lot of things that happens in this story, and it just makes Nan-hung look like an asshole. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, this whole thing was designed to make Wee Hung look, like, expose him, but the manservant takes it upon himself to kind of make a minstrel show out of his loss, because one of the things that Wee Hung has gotten in trouble for, like, he's been demoted or he's lost favor with the king a little bit here and there because he's lost battles, partially because Nan-hung didn't show up, he lost people, and that's caused some rift between them. But
like a brief pause too, he has also regained court favor, because of him being related to the 18th prince and of course the former late empress, and
he's kind of like being courted as a replacement for 18th prince, and so they're not just rivals in the romantic sense, like they're literal, like, political power rivals. And we've already seen, like, background information on the king favoring Wee Hung, even though they're equally matched, but the types of things that he praises in Wee Hung, he kind of
disregards his own son.
For his own son. So there's already that going on in the background, but basically, yeah, the manservant makes a mockery of that specific battle where Wee Hung lost, and makes him look foolish, and
the troops too. That was the thing that people were just like,
what the hell? And Nan-hung's like, and you could see him, he's just like, what the fuck? I did not co-sign on this.
Because as soon as the reveal happened, especially with Fugu's face paint, it was immediately, he was just like, what is that? Like, I didn't co-sign on any of this. But of course, like, everyone else was just like, you're so evil. Why would you mock that? Why would you mock our
troops? Did you plan this whole thing just to embarrass him? Which, in truth, yes, but not in the way that you think. Not
quite.
You know, and one of the things that kind of counts against Nan-hung is, like, he kind of, before that dance even happened, he was kind of goading Wee Hung's like, hey, why don't you do the victory dance? Because you haven't done your little victory song in a long time because all the battles you've lost. So it's just layers of foolishness, and it's just like, bro, like, all these circumstances kind of converged at once. That just happened to make Nan-hung look like a complete jackass. And so, the infamous drumming scene.
I'm surprised we didn't pause a minute or 45. I don't know. I don't even know.
I'm getting hot again just thinking about it. I'm like, where's my fan?
I mean, and because, like, she gets up and she's beating the drum because she's like, okay, this is being stupid. So she goes and beats the drum to try to rally the troops. But through all of this, she breaks the drum. Of course, like, you get a lot of these, like, sexist comments from the audience, especially the men. It's like, why don't you go back and do needlework and da-da-da-da-da.
You're a woman.
You're a woman. Like, you up there looking foolish and, like, practically, it's just like, you know what, with her being all quirky and all that stuff, like, this is to her own detriment. So she's looking embarrassed. And so he's just like, hey, you're not going to, like, treat my woman like this. And so he gets up and he kicks the drum over to where it's laying on the floor, where the other side is up, the drum that's actually whole, on that whole side. And so he gets behind her and he holds onto her arms. And we also see, like, a little element of this, like, in the, like, first few episodes of when he was at battle, and he beats this, pretty much like this battle drum cadence to where it spurs his men onto victory. And so he emulates that same thing with her together, and they're doing it in sync. And of course, like, she's not shirking that together at all. You know, like, get off me. It's like, no, we're going to do this. And so his men just suddenly just turn the play around to where they are victorious. And the scene is sexy, you know, with the flourish, and you see the flashback between the original battle that had taken place versus now at the musical. And, you know, as they're doing it in sync, I'm like, oh man, that was really, really well done. I really love that scene.
And I think that's, like, the most passionate that we see him, because, you know, up until this point, he's pretty stoic, he's sarcastic, He's a little bit of a smart ass. But, like, that moment, he's like, no, let me show you what actually went down. And part of what was interesting about that battle is, like, he was originally down by a lot of men. Like, they were not supposed to be victorious because of the amount of people. They were way outnumbered. They shouldn't have won. And, you know, it was part of what gained him his reputation in the first place for being reckless and a little bit like, oh, you don't care about our troops. You just care about yourself. But, like, we watched that scene and, like, how it clips between that part in the battle where he's banging the drum like, yeah, we can do this. We can do this. And we're watching them kind of play out. It felt like a very intimate moment that I'm like, y'all need a room?
I mean, I was saying, like, I'm surprised he didn't say, like, come with me for, like, 15 minutes. Like, that's all I need. It's like, that's all I need to be.
But the way that they were doing things in tandem and sync like that, you know, he's kind of, like, it didn't feel like it was controlling her because she was into it, too, and she's just doing this thing. And it felt like this, kind of very intimate sort of thing that I'm like, oh shit, Guihong is going to be pissed.
And he was. I'm
I'm
surprised he remained seated throughout the entire thing.
Yeah, because his ego was like, number one, you're already mocking me at this thing. You've already been taunting and goading me this whole time. And on top of it, you're sitting next to my honey that we're engaged. You're sitting next to her and doing all this other stuff. And then you get up there on that, your men embarrass me. You get up there on that drum. And that, woo! So that moment, I was like, oh, I need a cigarette. I think I'm pregnant. I mean...
Yimeng first, like she has to do that, but we'll get there.
Oh my god!
And so the whole prize of this, and this was kind of contrived with Nung Hung, was to reward practically her with a very lavish, pretty hairpin. But he's not won yet because Bui Hung hasn't presented his side yet.
Exactly.
And I always found it interesting with this that until Nan Hung had to get involved to save Yimeng from further embarrassment regarding the broken drum and whatnot, the thing about this is that he never got involved in this dance or anything like that or the play that took place with his troupe, right? But Gui Hung does for him. He is practically center stage. I thought that was interesting because they pretty much did the presentation of the same war. The war that he lost. That's practically what the embarrassment was. To bring shame upon his name for losing the war. And, you know, but for him, he did his interpretation and dance with sword between him and his soldiers to present, like, you know, the loss, the anguish, the way that, unfortunately, those carrier birds got sent out and no response came, no help came. And it felt like they were being abandoned. But I thought even with that was still an interesting thing where no one else came in his stead to present that. He did. And so I know for him it was a matter of honor for him to do that.
Right.
Or for him to showcase that, you know, yes, he has like a lot of guilt because he lost his father that day. And he lost a lot of troops. And that should not have happened. Through him and his like teary eyes and his anguish of what all he has lost, what all he had to give up, and of course like what all he's continuing having to suffer now because things with Yimeng, you know, he presented his case, but like I said, it still felt a little bit of ego of like, I need to do this not only because you're up there touching my woman unnecessarily, but also like I still have to be the center of focus even amongst my own like I guess like my own group or whatever. It felt like a different dynamic in comparison to what Nan Hung had presented because Nan Hung did not get involved, like I said, until the drum incident. He wasn't the person amongst that to make a mockery. He didn't do that.
And I think to like save face and protect his ego. And I found it interesting that he let Yimeng go up there and do all that, let her get embarrassed and did not intercede or step in. And it was like, you know, Don Hung, that's like, oh, F this. No.
I'll go
like, he felt compelled to jump in and protect her from...
Or did he try to get up at the last minute? Like, that's his problem, too. He always does stuff minutes or seconds too late. Or after Nung Hung might have suggested something, then he suggests it or whatever.
He's too busy, like, he's too cerebral and too much thinking about how the optics are going to look and what this looks like. And I get that because of his position and where he kind of sits on things.
It is a precarious position. I wouldn't, like, I understand his hesitancy regarding it for sure.
And at least for, Non-Hong, he's like, look, I'm screwed regardless of what I do. So
I have nothing to lose. Like, the only thing he has to lose is, like, the dress for his mom and probably his extended family. Even though I'm sure he's like, at this rate, he's like, y'all can go kick rocks too.
And then, especially too, I don't think he really cared about being seen as a villain because it's like, whatever, it's playing into my hands anyway. It wasn't until Iman came along and he's hearing her basically talk shit about him through Li Shilu or whatever. And so it's just like, up until this point, he had sort of this bad boy personality, image, reputation, whatever. It's like, okay, whatever, I don't care.
And
Dad
it still
hates
sticks.
me. 18th Prince hates me. My former best friend hates me. Whatever. But now that she's come along, it's like, no, I don't want to be viewed as that, at least to her.
Right.
And there's a very, we were talking about this earlier, like, there's a point where he kind of breaks down a little bit because, up until this point, he's been meeting with her through his alter ego and, we gotta plot how to kill him and da-da-da and Non-Hong is an asshole and he does this and he's treacherous and he's cunning and all he knows how to do is destroy things and he doesn't care about people. Yeah. And finally, I think, like, because he's falling for her, he's falling in love with her weird quirkiness, her personality, her lack of fucks to give because she's just so daring. She does not care about rules or politeness. She's just optics. Like, I'm going to do what feels right. I'm going to do what is right. But he kind of hits his breaking point where he's like, I need to know, what are these words that you're saying?
That's like one of my favorite scenes there because Baby's up there having, like, toss and turning at night. He's just tortured by the words she's been nailing him to the cross for. And he's just like, what are all these words? What is it, protagonist? Like, what is that? What is script?
What is male lead? What is script? What is a celebrity? What are these things? What do they mean? I don't know what they mean.
Yes.
And I don't care, but now I do. And I'm not the and he's having to deal with this reality, like, the person that she's fallen for is not the person that, like,
he truly is.
And it's just like, no, I'm actually good. I'm just written badly. Like,
I mean, literally. What does Zuko say?
What was it? Zuko's like, even when I'm good, why am I so bad at being good?
Yes.
And there was another quote I had mentioned from Avatar. It's like Azula, when he's talking about, like, Azula, was lucky and I was lucky to even being born or whatever. It's like,
it's always feels like
he can't do right regardless of how much he tries, how much he's not even scheming and scamming half the time. He's just trying to stay one step ahead of his father and whatever foolishness 18th Prince is doing, because, or his uncle, because there's a lot of people, and we forgot the Gao family and Chancellor, him instigating shit. What kills me is, like, the other characters around him that are stirring up a lot of the drama are, like, so transparent. Like, they're not even subtle about what their intentions are. And the only person that does instigate that we do like, well, of course, his manservant Fugui, and we forgot about the rumor mill tabloid comics that have been going out as well.
Yes, the manhwa manga kind of comics of sorts. So apparently, like, this has been released by mostly his guys at the Crescent City or whatever it was. So they have been printing their own versions of this manga about, like, his life story, and then eventually, like, his life in the palace. And so everyone has been reading this, including his mother. His mother is a big time fangirl, and so he's just like, I must get these together by any means necessary. So her plotting, we didn't mind, because she was plotting for a means of just like, my son is finally happy and interested in someone, a girl, for the first time ever. Maybe I should help this along. And so she's sending all these lavish gifts. She goes and appears at the city, because I'm like, her ship has sailed, and so she's riding that ship all the way to the sunset.
Jesus.
So I'm like, oh my gosh. And so she has done the most to try to make sure that this marriage eventually does happen, because again, she is still tied to Gui Hung, and so she is trying to do her best to see if her wills can possibly like end in a love connection between Yimong and her son.
So like she's been shipping them together. Fugui, he started his own variation of manhwa, like trying to like get the word out there about his boss and Yimong. And what's so crazy about it too, a lot of this is happening behind Nanhung's back, so he has no idea. But everybody's running around with copies of the manhwa that's going over their little sordid affair. And you have to remember too, because Yimong's engaged,
right,
this is not making her look good either. It makes her look tawdry and shameless, and she's been alone with him multiple times. She's been alone with his alter ego multiple times, so it's just
and she's already starting to fall for his alter ego,
right,
too.
And she's already had a reputation for being a little bit crazy and stuff, so it's just like, this is just elevating things. Yes. And of course, we have the Three Stooges in Crescent City also starting stuff. His second hand, the lazy flirt, playboy.
Raleigh Wong's character.
He's so funny, but like all he wants to do is just flirt, gamble, and play matchmaker, and this is just a fun game
and
for
work
him.
5 days out of the month. Like that's
all he wants, and you can tell like there's a genuine respect for Nanhung and like his leadership and stuff. But he's trying to instigate certain things to get them together. It's like, oh, I guess you two have to talk. Da, 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 da.
Yeah,
I think it's love, and I just found it hilarious. And I'm like, oh, this is adorable. But again, it just makes Nanhung look bad because he's like, I did not do any of this.
Right.
Like, why are y'all blaming me for? Why are you blaming me for shit I had nothing to do with? Like, it's not his fault, and he's just kind of a victim of circumstance a little bit. But it's just like, bro can't just catch a break because
he can't win for losing.
He has so many people kind of doing their own little machinations, you know, in the background. But it's just so funny. He's just trying to go about his day, win her heart in the best ways he can, but it seems like anytime that he schemes, his schemes make things 1,000 times worse because of all the interlocking other things that are happening with other people's
It just gets amplified.
Oh, and it always backfires against him. She keeps thinking he's an asshole that can't be redeemed.
Yes.
It isn't until, like, with the whole sordid affair happening with the manhwa and everything, where finally the king is like, okay, we gotta figure out what's going on here.
Yeah, because it was after that incident, after the musical, is when they go outside and they're up there having some words, and then his freaking brother starts opening his mouth, running and practically accusing his family, his mom and everything else, still accusing them about killing his mom. And he's like, look, I told you that me and my mother had nothing to do with that. But he's like, you can talk about me all you want to, but you better keep his name out your mouth. So he's still just like an idiot, doubled down on it. And so his brother's like, okay, bet. Because he warned him also that, you know, if you keep talking about my mom, I'm going to put these hands on you. Li Hung does start fighting him, and then they start sparring. But the 18th Prince goes and gets a sword from a guard, and then he goes swinging. He strikes Nung Hung. They all get summoned. No, not all of them. It's mostly Nung Hung and Yimong get summoned. She's like, what did I do? I just practically was just standing right by here.
Standing here.
Just standing here looking pretty and confused. Like, that was all there was. And so they get summoned to the palace to where they had to go and kneel on the concrete outside of the king's office or whatever. And so he sees that she's up there struggling because she's up there weaving, and then, like, we see them from the back for a while. So at first, I thought she was, like, about to fall asleep on her knees. But no, she was like, this is so uncomfortable.
They've been out there for a minute.
So she's like, how long has it been? Because it's already nighttime, and we don't know what side of nighttime they're at. And of course, by the time they had left, it was like probably like still afternoon, evening time, maybe. And so they've been out there for a good spell. But of course, like this boy has been conditioned to be on his knees for penance or whatever since the beginning of time.
This is nothing for him.
So he takes off his robe for her so she can put her knees on it. And she's up there thinking like, oh, so you're trying to do this to like look better. And he's just like, no.
You look uncomfortable. Like, take the damn coat, please.
I'm saying, it's like, for once, can you think that I'm not trying to, like, be nefarious? Like,
I've been out here for hours, too. You think I want to be out here suffering?
Right.
Like, trust and believe, as terrible you think of me, I would not think this far ahead to make myself suffer. Like, make it make sense. And so, you know, they finally both get called in.
No, just her.
Just her. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, King calls her in and kind of addresses, like, yeah, why are the princes fighting over you?
You remember what had happened in that? Like, because she did her, like, little salutation, like, hi, King, and she didn't bow. She didn't get down on her knees. So his advisor practically kicked her. So she goes down. And so then he lays into her for that.
Yeah, she starts to see firsthand the amount of cruelty that this man is capable of, because not only is he, like, kind of disparaging her and blaming her for kind of being the centerpiece of this whole fight. And
that he dresses her down for dressing up so much. Yeah. It's like, you must be wanting attention.
Exactly. Look at how lavish you look and all this other stuff, because, again, that's who she is. She's just a little firebrand that just, you know, but
he was just like, you know, aren't you engaged? Then why are you up here practically flouncing around with my other son? Like, why are you doing that? And so she's like, you should be at home.
Like, working on embroidery, you're a woman, and da-da-da. And just being a little
bastard.
But yeah, just sort of insinuating that the fight would not have happened if it wasn't for her. Mm-hmm. Like, it's very much giving your distraction. You are causing the downfall of 18th Prince, because that's really what he's more concerned about, is the optics of how this makes the king look with his sons fighting
against her projecting, because whatever that 18th Prince is, that is 100% your fault.
And we have to remember, 18th Prince is the one that drew the sword first. Like, he started this whole fight. He did. He started the whole fight. He's the one that was talking shit. And especially, he's the one that had weapons involved and struck first. So, and part of their rules are the princes, if they draw against one another or whatever, whoever does it first, they're supposed to be executed. Yes. Like, they're supposed to get the axe.
Yes.
But we know, with the 18th Prince, and when he fucks up, guess who has to take the blame?
What is the 7th Prince for 500 Alex? All the time. And of course, like, in this case, it proves no exception, because didn't the king threaten her with punishment? Like, she had to receive lashes or something. Like, some kind of weird like that. I'm like, oh, he's about to step in. And sure enough, gets down right before her, and he's just like, whatever punishment you're going to dole out to her, you give it to me.
Right. I'll accept it.
I'll accept it on her behalf. And so, like, all of this was my fault. She had nothing to do with this. Mm-hmm. I did put my hands on my brother. Mr. Russell deserves it. But, you know, I'm the one who did that. Do not punish her for that. And so the king, and he even acknowledged, that's what sickens me.
Yeah.
He acknowledges that each and any time he has come to his presence, and a lot of times whenever he's like, oh, I heard rumors that this and this happened, or I heard that you were doing this, or you're responsible for this, or that you were trying to, you know, overrule or overstep over your brother, when you know practically he's pointing to his brother as the crown prince. And Nanhong always has a gracious explanation for anything, or most of the time is absolutely true. Of like, I'm pretty much blameless for this, or maybe we can do this, or maybe we can do it this way, or I can take the fall for this, or maybe you can put him off of punishment, whatever. Something that is always like consolidatory to make sure everything's on the up and up, and again, that he lives another day, right?
Right.
And so with this thing though, his father acknowledges that of all the things that you've done right, you actually slipped up this time, and you're willing to do this for a woman. You're willing to do this for her.
Yeah.
And essentially, he just says, yeah, like,
he's just revealing his Achilles heel at this point. And, you know, up until this point too, you know, Nanhong has kind of held his own. Like, he's been really good about not showing his true hand. He's good about not showing any vulnerability, no weaknesses. He's just like, okay, you're gonna fucking punish me anyway. Just give me my punishment.
Do whatever.
Do whatever. I don't care. But now that he has sort of revealed, like, in some shape or form, he has feelings here for Imong for even wanting to take those punishment for her, it's not out of the 18th Prince's, protection or whatever. It's like, okay, I have something on you now.
Yes.
I can use that against you. And so he's like, okay, well, since you drew against your brother. Now we have to figure out a punishment for you because you're going to take on her punishment, but you still were responsible for drawing a sword against your brother.
I don't think he said like drawing a sword or like practically attacking your brother.
And
but then she was also just like, well, he was hurt too.
She did bring up the fact that she's like, yeah, he started all this. Like, he would not have attacked had he not been goaded into it. So, the king's like, okay, well, fine then. Cut off your hand if you're...
Man, this part
cut off your hand if you're about it. Like, cut off your hand if you actually mean it.
And Yimong, she's like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. She's like, no, your highness, I was the one who did this. I'm at fault. Don't do that. But his father, like, throws a sword at him. He's like, so you're up there being a man enough to draw a weapon or whatever on your brother. Why don't you just go ahead and do that? Are you trying to, like, say you're going to let a woman speak up for you? Mm-hmm. What are you going to do about it? And so eventually he does pick up the sword and looking like he's about to cut his hand, but... Like, she not only left to protect him from doing that or stop him from doing that, didn't his father also kick him? Like, it seemed like there was, like, a spontaneous thing that both happened at the same time.
Like, he kicked him and then also no, I can't remember the exact logistics of it, but...
Yeah, Yimong also, like, kind of, like, embraced him, and then it seemed like his dad also kicked him to also get the sword out of his hand.
And he's like, I was just playing with you. I was just kidding. You took that seriously? And it's just like... So not only...
I will drown you in your own bathwater. Don't play with
him. You're gaslighting him. It was so fucked up because he's like, yeah, I want you to cut off the hand that harmed your brother in the first place. And he was about to do it. And then he's like, ugh. Yeah. And kind of like disgusted at the fact that, Nanhong was honorable enough that he was actually going to do it. Like, it's like he keeps testing him to see where is your breaking point? How can I really get you? And
he found his breaking point now.
Oh yeah, he has it now, but it's just like when he kicked him was like, oh, I was just kidding. You weren't gonna actually do it, were you? Like, oh, you stupid boy. Like, just like what do you want? Like, stop.
I mean, it must be exhausting me, like, having all these mind games against your own child. Like, grow the F up. Like, I hate parents like that. And the thing about this is, like, with that, he tells him practically, get out. And so gets her up and they leave, and his mother had something a little planned for them afterwards, and he gets them locked into a room and they're together, but they don't do anything that night, them just kind of having a little bit of a bonding moment together. So nothing really much reporting on that. We'll let you go into there, but there's something else that kind of like another series of events we have to cover that I think was like really and truly, like, one of the moments that made me cry. Nanhong is kind of, like, set his sight on, like, no, for real, I want to marry her, like, as my real self. And so he's doing all that he can on his side to orchestrate it to be so. So he's kind of leaned on Gui Hong to go ahead and cancel that marriage. He also has gotten word, and she has told Gui Hong many times that I'm not into you like that. Our engagement was when we were kids, because she's already fallen in love with Li Shulu. And so for Nanhong, he's like, okay, you're playing perfectly into my hands now. And so she's like, well, I need some help in order to get this going, because apparently this dude ain't getting the memo that I don't want anything to do with him. There was this thing where he's like, well, come horseback riding with me. And so they go horseback riding, and they have like this little talk, and they come back. Because he also, like, kind of gives her about, like, what had happened to him in the Cold Palace after his stepmother had gotten murked. And so when they come back, he gets her off the horse, and of course, Gui Hong is there. And Nanhong is up there instigating a lot of things because he's up there holding her really close.
She's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
go with me.
He, of course, is getting bristled. So Hongdu decides to fire off an arrow, but it ends on a cliffhanger. So you go to the next one, you're just like, wait a minute, where are they starting it from here?
Yeah.
And you never really see, as far as I can see, unless I went past that part too much, but you never get to see what the actual incident is or what happened. But he did not block the arrow. It finds its mark in his shoulder. And so he's up here convalescing in bed after hemming it up. The king comes and visits him, and he tells him, essentially, like, what are you doing all this for? Like, why were you provoking him that way? Because, again, the king is just like, this looks like a wound that it shouldn't be giving you that much trouble.
Right.
You're also seem like you're provoking this other man, but I'm not going to comment on that. But why are you doing all this? And so Nanhong pretty much makes his deal all known, that there's no secret that I want to marry her. Because of Gui Hong acting out and shooting this arrow off, Nang Hung comes up with is that, okay, since he has to be punished, you cancel this engagement, let her become engaged to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the king is like, done.
But there's a catch.
There's always a catch.
Of course.
So the catch is that he has to go and serve on this fife. And we were just like, what the hell is a fife? Like, this takes you back to 6th grade social studies. So the fife is that he has to go into this faraway kingdom or like spot where he has to govern away from the city, away from all the influences that he has, any connections that he has. Mm-hmm. So they practically are going to like put him in a foreign spot to where he's kind of like being a little powerless, where he can't do a power play for the throne if he wanted.
It feels like a combination of like exile and like military conscription.
Yes.
Like, oh, we're gonna post you out here to govern this little plot of land, and you can't be around to interfere in my affairs. Bye.
Essentially, that was exactly what it was. And so, like, he's devastated by the news, but we were kind of contending with, even with his military might and all the accolades, good, bad, or indifferent that he's built so far, you cannot say that he hasn't been a magnificent military leader. Mm-hmm. Especially the amount of times he's been able to lead his troops to victory and, of course, keeping their province or whatever safe. But his father is also looking at him, like you had always said, a major threat. If not to him himself on the throne, but to his brother for sure, because his brother is a weakling, and he knows that. He's acknowledged that plenty of times that he has been concerned about who the true crown prince is. The crown prince, like the 18th prince, is a crown prince in theory, but not in actuality. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to this, of course, he can get his son he doesn't favor out the way. He's also like, I gave you something you wanted. You wanted this girl so badly you could have her, but your punishment is that you have to go over there.
You have to cede a lot of your power. And what's interesting too, because, you know, Guihong is kind of like this backup second in command, basically, if whatever happens to the 18th prince. And, you know, the king is, in some way, like, I understand, like, he has to worry about the empire and what's going to happen. Because it's like, you see him, like, acknowledging, like, 18th prince is not fit to lead. He's weak, and he has no military victories, no background. He knows nothing other than just being spoiled and pampered and having every whim catered to and every single scandal covered up. And so it's just like, yeah, I understand the king being a little bit frustrated with him, but I'm like, that's your doing.
You reap what
that
yourself.
Is your fault, because you could have made him into someone that is capable of leading. And you have a son that is very much capable, but you are too insecure and too prejudiced, but and also just very like power hungry to recognize like, hey, you know what? At some point, I'm ready to cede power. And
well, I think it would have been fine if 18th Prince showed that initiative.
Yeah, he
would have been fine if all of those accolades that the 7th Prince has won was transferred over to the 18th Prince. He would have been perfectly fine with this. The fact that his favorite son didn't have all the accolades that the unfavorite son has. And of course, like, you know, of course, it doesn't help that he does not have high favor for the Gao family, which is, of course, what his son and, of course, by proxy, his mother is attached to. What was a good common way to get a balance between the two? To him, like, this was the compromise of disabling Nang Hung and also giving possibly his 18th son a chance.
Yeah. And on top of this, you know, with him being granted, okay, y'all can get married, that also causes problems for Yimeng's family because Yimeng's dad is a high-ranking official in the court. And
with the longest title I've ever heard.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot. But like him and the king know each other personally, and her father is kind of known for not really showing his true hand. He reminds me of what's his face, Burr from Hamilton. Like,
yes,
he just kind of goes with the wind and whoever is in charge and blah blah blah. So he's been able to
talk less,
smile more. Don't show anyone what your true motives are, your true hand.
Absolutely,
you go along with whatever's going to get you ahead.
But he is like a conspiracy theorist, like behind the scenes too.
Yeah, and so it's just like he has some favor and he has some invincibility for Yimong to act the way that she does, because it's like, okay, it's, Song's daughter, da 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 da, and people don't really take her seriously. So he's been able to do what he needs to do. But when this whole news about the wedding happens and he's like, oh no, I'm against it, for obvious reasons.
And because also she's been feeding him all this stuff about Nahung, of course, based off of the original script she had read. And so he's already highly prejudiced against the man to begin with, especially hearing this from the lips of his own daughter. But then he's up here for like a world of like, what the hell? When she suddenly does like something that was already destined in the script. Mm-hmm. And another part, she's like, oh no, I don't want to say these words, please. And she's up there prying the hand from her mouth so she can say essentially like, Father, I love Nahung. I want to marry him. And please consent to this marriage. Even though she's inwardly screaming like, I don't want to say this. Please, Father, go to the king. Fight for me.
Right.
Do not consent to this marriage. Or he has her locked up into a storage unit and he goes and pleads to the king himself. Because the thing about this is that her refusing, or even the family themselves refusing this decree, could be detrimental not only to her family but to the servants and everybody. Like everybody would be like either like slaughtered or put into servitude, like slavery. And so like we can't even have that. But her father loves her so much, and it's not even a matter of pride, but it's one of those things of just like, you told me that this man was dangerous, and the last thing I want to do, because he loves her so much, like this is his most treasured child, the last thing he wants to do is hand her over to someone that will mistreat her or will use her as a pawn or anything like that. So he goes to the king with the hopes that, as for their friendship, because like you had said, they've known each other for a long time, that he will have mercy and not have his child be subjected to not only the whims of Nahung, but also the ploys and being a pawn at the king's disposal. Right. That's not what he wants.
And it's like, I've been able to play this whole stay under the table, stay under the radar, show up, do what I need to do.
And he also mentioned, like, whatever you decide to do with your kids,
that's
fine.
One thing. That's your business. You're the king, you're the emperor, whatever. However, my daughter's involved in this, and I know the reason why that you've agreed to this, it's not good. Whatever you're trying to do to punish your son, please don't involve my daughter in this. Like, please, I'm asking you, not just as the emperor or the king, because one thing about this too, the decrees of the king or the emperor are absolute. And when he was the one that had approved of her and Guihong getting engaged as children, so you do not go against those decrees. That's like a big deal.
Solid thing.
And breaking that could result in execution or exile
or punishment
or severe punishment. And so, him going to him both as a concerned parent and as a friend with their background, kind of trying to appeal to him, it does not go well because the king is an asshole. And again, he's
a sadist.
He's a sadist. He's just a jerk. Like, he's a genuine narcissistic bully. And all of this is mostly because he wants to punish Nahung as much as possible. And so he's like, okay, I'll let them do this, but you got to take lashes because your daughter escaped punishment, so you got to take these lashes.
Well, it's not even really just the daughter's punishment. It's the fact that he came and asked him anyway.
Yeah.
It's like, you're practically undermining my decree when you should have just accepted and kept your mouth shut, but you came up here to me. Even with us being friends, you still went against my word. So with that, you need to be punished. And so he condemns him to get 30 lashes, which of course, her father's an older man. So when we were talking about that, like after his decree, I'm like, he's trying to kill this man. But we also knew the reason why he did it.
Yes.
And Nahung and Guihong had heard about all this. And so here they come running up. Nahung was like, look, can we just squash this beef for right now? Let us go ahead and do this like mutually and together. And so Guihong was like, bet, let's go ahead and do that. The thing about it is that I guess like the main advisor, the other sadistic dude, I think if there was like the Spanish Inquisition, that dude would be like great for it apparently. But so before the dude can even take a swing of the whip with him, both of the men come forward and they're just like, look, we heard that he's about to get punished. We are willing to accept punishment on his behalf. And they say that practically almost in unison.
Yeah.
And the silly ass 18 person is like, I'm willing to accept. He's like, if you don't shut your mouth, go
shut up.
Sit over there. No one asked you to be here. In fact, why are you here?
Right.
Leave. So between the two of them, both of them are parenting just like, hey, I'm willing to accept punishment for him. And so he goes to both of them. He's like, okay, if you're willing to accept punishment, then you will have to give up 10,000 of your men, of your soldiers. The amount is that they both were quiet, but we already knew who would win out of all of this.
Exactly.
Because he kind of like looks at Na Hung and he's just like, well, what is your expectations for this? Are you willing to give all this up, all your troops, like something you really fought for a woman?
And both of them up until this point have been trying to grab more and more power.
Yes.
And amass more followers and military personnel in the army. So this is a big blow to both of them if they accept it. And it's like, okay, who's going to make the sacrifice? Who's willing to show that they're about it? And this is kind of what we were talking about earlier with, like, we know that Gui Hong loves Imong.
Yes.
But, and this is one opportunity where he can finally, like, show for sure that he actually is willing to put her above his own interest and his own ego.
And for a split second, he was able to, but who spoke up and told him to stay
there? And, Na Hung was like, I'll do it. Just, give me the lashes, all 30 of them.
Well, because he was just also, he said, I'm going to marry Imong.
Yeah.
And this is my father-in-law, so we are going to be family. So it's only befitting that I'm the one who takes the lashes for him. And so when his father was just like, I really want you to think about it. He's like, I'm going to do it. Let's go ahead and do it. And so he gets lashed. And you see the metamorphosis from her father. Her father is still looking on at his now future son-in-law that's taking 30 lashes of punishment for him. And he takes it and it hurts so much because it wasn't like one of those lashings or punishments you see in other dramas where they're good for a couple strikes and then they start to falter. No. Immediately when that first whip happens, he's immediately just like, oh my God.
And drawing
this
blood.
Hurts. All over the place. I mean, he barely touches the ground, but his father was just like, after it was done, I forgot what he said. But it was something cold and callous because he's an asshole.
Yeah. But it was also part of his own calculations because we do revert back to an earlier scene where the king and Imong's father were talking. He's like, yeah, this will show us who is actually really about it. And of course, we know he already knew Na Hung would take the fall. He knew that Na Hung would show up. And
I forgot about that too. Like, because we do get like a flashback about like an hour or so beforehand, and it was just the king and her father talking, still in his office or whatever. And the king kind of also said this like beforehand too, because her father was still just like, hey, you still made this like decree about her marrying Gui Hong all this time. I think it'll be more and far better if she gets married to him still. And so the king was essentially like, I don't think you understand who really loves her more. Like, are you sure you know who loves her more? And sure enough, he already knew who did. In a wicked way, I'm like, I commend him for knowing that. I hate how he used it against him. Because
of course.
He's always going to do that.
And the fact that he wasted absolutely no time. Like, they're not even fully married yet. And already he's using that to keep him in line and control him. And so it's like, okay, now, especially, we understand why Imong's father's like, please don't use my baby as a pawn. Like, whatever issues you have with your kids, that's your business.
Yes.
I'm not in any place to dictate that, but you're using my kid now.
Yes.
Now it's more personal. Now I need to say something. And he, the fact that he was willing to put himself on the line, knowing for a fact, like all this time, he's kind of stayed under the radar. Just, it's like, okay, thank you, Dad, for being about that life and showing what a true parent is.
And that's the thing, like, he already knew this was probably going to be at the expense of my life, but I have to protect my child. But I'm like, dude, but if you get taken out, what's going to happen to your family? I'm like, you are the Mr. Bennett in this situation. If you get taken out right now before your daughters have something to fall back on, what are they going to do? And so after that, Na Hung gets to get switched out, and he gets back into his robes, and he had heard that his baby boo got locked up in the shed and is not getting food and whatnot. He's like, well, I need to go and check on her. But he goes and changes out in his other regalia. Homegirl's up there snacking down like half a chicken all that stuff.
Going on a hunger strike to protest. And she's just, I'm not like a starving person at Popeyes, just going to town.
She's like holding nothing back. So I'm like, yeah, she's fine.
Yeah.
She's still locked up, yes, but she's still fine. But he comes and checks on her. And this is, of course, like another little turning point in the story where we kind of have this come to Jesus where she's just like still on this kick about wanting to take out Nong Hong. And he's just like, you're still going after this man. Has he tried to kill you or anything like that since then? And she's like, well, no, but there's still the potential of me still dying at his hand. I have to protect practically the common good, right? And so he still can't believe that after he just took that harsh punishment for her father, which she doesn't know about.
Right.
She still doesn't even know about it by episode 20 either.
Right.
But I took all of that, and you still are painting me as a villain. Like, girl, you have no idea what I just went through for the sake of you and your family to keep your father alive.
Right.
And so he's just like, yeah, I'm gone. I can't take it. So he bounces. He's just like, you keep painting him as a villain, but it seems like you
are just as bad and ruthless.
Or worse. And so...
Yeah, because we understand why she thinks the way that she does. She doesn't have any other evidence to the contrary. And so, like, even though that one scene where she saw the king mistreat and abuse him in real time, and that started getting the wheels turning, like, oh, wow, maybe I've been letting my prejudices get in the way of things. Maybe I haven't been seeing things clearly. She sees it firsthand, and she's like, you know, even though I don't like him, even though he's experienced his thing, nobody deserves that type of treatment. Right. But at the end of the day, she's back to her main goal. Like, we have to assassinate him. We have to take him out. And it's just, he, you know, at that point, because he's been trying to be like, you know, maybe you're not seeing things clearly. Maybe your perception is off. And at that point, that's like the main breaking point for him, where he's like, you know what? You're not thinking clearly. You talk about him being ruthless and cold and callous, but you hear how you sound right now, and just be like, I'm out. I'm done.
I can't deal with this.
So it's like a little breakup of sorts. And then he comes back as himself.
Yes. He does. And, well, like, after that also, he gets a visit from her father the next day. And he brings him, like, cloths and stuff like that to treat his wounds. And the prince is like, okay, what do I owe the pleasure of your visit? So the father was essentially like, look, as a concerned father, I'm thinking, like we've always said, for the welfare of my child. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, you know, with you being moved this way and that, if something happens to you, if you die in battle or die by any other means, how are you going to protect my daughter? That's the one thing I want to make sure that regardless of whatever intrigue you're in, that she's taken care of and protected. And I think also it wasn't really stated either that she's treated with a, you know, modicum of respect and love by you. When you treasure someone so much, the last thing you want to hand them off to is an abusive relationship.
Exactly.
And so he's checking for that. And so he's like, I'm humbly begging you, please annul this engagement. Do not marry my daughter. Mm-hmm. And so this is what kind of broke my heart. It's because despite everything, despite what he had talked to her as his Li Shu Lu character, he said essentially that I will make sure she's protected. Mm-hmm. I will make sure everything in my power to take care of her. This is the one thing I really want to be selfish on.
Right.
Is to be with her, because he's like, I really do have feelings for her. He says something else like beautiful and poetic that I cannot remember, and I hate that I can't. But he said, like, I have to humbly decline your request for me to annul it, because essentially he's just like, in his own way, saying that I have feelings for her and I can't let go of her.
He's in too deep at this point, and now that the king has his sights set on her, he cannot afford to leave her alone to his devices. Like, he's in a way obligated to protect her because, number one, he loves her, but now the king has a reason to legitimately harm her. And it's like, I can't leave her to his devices. Like, even if I can accept her not loving me, I can accept her not having feelings for me, but I can't just leave her to the wolves.
I didn't even think about that until you said so, because that makes sense. Because I think when I watched the scene, I had seen it as just him emotionally divulging to her father, like as his own plea of vulnerability. Like, I really do care about your daughter. I'm not using her as a pawn or by any means or trying to get revenge against or getting a power up. He's like, honestly, if she wasn't in play like that, I still wouldn't have cared.
Right.
I would care about her. That's all that matters to me. But yeah, I didn't even think about the whole like king aspect to the king slang, because that would make sense too, of needing to keep her close just to keep his dad at bay. There's also like that selfish part of him of wanting something.
A genuine thing for himself, because it's like he's finally been able to experience someone, because even she struggles with this too, where even against her own judgment, she'll still try to take care of him and still fuss at him about his wounds and why are you doing this to yourself and why do you keep getting into these scrapes and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like you could tell that she's sort of reluctant in wanting to take care of him, or she still wants to believe he's every bit the asshole cad that he was originally written to be, but she kind of finds herself drawn to taking care of him, of making sure he's okay. And of course there's a means to an end for all that to prevent her from dying, but she's struggling with her feeling sympathetic toward him, but also knowing what she knows him to be and fighting with that. So we're not at the level yet where she's in love with him, where she's like actually acknowledging and acting on her feelings yet. We know that she's in love with
his counterpart,
which is actually who he is in real life, but it's like because of his father and the state that he's currently in, he can't really act on that the way that he wants to, and so it's
at least not yet.
And so seeing him being so vulnerable about like, I love her, I want to protect her, I will do everything I can, and not just lip service, but like he means that, and it's
legitimate. It's legitimate.
It's legit, and it's like it's so funny because it's like his father, her father does not know that I'm actually obligated to protect her. Number one, it's in the rules.
Right.
I'm going to do it regardless of what you say.
Yes.
But it's just like, and I didn't think about that at the time. And I'm like, that makes sense too. Like, I'm going to protect her. So that's not an option.
Yeah.
But I choose to do it because I love her and I care for her. I don't want harm to come to her. I have feelings for her. She does things to me. She's made me a better person, even though she doesn't think I am.
Yes.
Look at what's happened.
Or maybe like he's also been like a good person. It's just that a lot of the things, like of course, like she is not aware of that twist in the plot. Mm-hmm. And I kept explaining to you also where I'm just like, maybe it's just me or us just viewing it through spectators' eyes here. But I was telling you how, okay, she read the script from front to back.
Yes.
So she's familiar with all the beats, especially the crucial scenes that are coming down the pike. My issue having with this is that she questions when something's not familiar, or there's a change in the plot, or like this doesn't seem right, or this is unfamiliar, or like was this supposed to happen? She will question that, but anything regarding him, she's very staunch about, and that there's no changing anything about it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, I thought or had assumed that a lot of this like plot point about him and his background, his abusiveness with his father and whatnot, seems to be brand new because she had no idea about this prior to. Mm-hmm. And so with that, I would have started thinking personally, if it was me, yes, be a little bit reserved and cautious that, okay, we're still hitting on a lot of these plot points that, of course, by this time I'm sure had changed the reason why it happened. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily that it wouldn't happen, period. But she's hitting on all the plot points leading up to that point. So a lot of the major scenes that she can recall and remember seems like it's still going to happen regardless. But now there's going to be a different slant on how we got there.
Right.
Instead of the maliciousness, she assumed that he had pulled and staged the entire thing when it's not the case. And so I would start like thinking, okay, so this is different from what I had read. This is slightly different from what I had read. So maybe he's not all what I had originally perceived either. I'll still keep him at arm's length, but it'll still be with that thing of just like, okay, things are starting to change, but how much is it going to?
Right.
I don't know. But also, like, she's so invested in not wanting to die or whatnot in this story. If you went ahead and just had the story clip along how it was, not in this disgusting way, but just let it clip along naturally how it's being rewritten now, you could already get through the story so you can get out of it. Like, why are we up here dragging our feet when you know something is inevitably going to happen anyway? Stop dragging your feet and let's go ahead and clip. This could be 36 episodes instead of 40. You know what I mean?
Right. And it was funny because we had mentioned earlier, like, That's So Raven, and like, you know, Raven Baxter's visions always happen partially because of how she responded to the initial vision, and she would actually cause the very thing that she did not want to happen because she was so afraid of things popping off the way that it did. And so, like, with those main story beats that she identified, it's like, okay, they are going to happen, but how they happen and the context of what happens is going to change, and that can be adjusted.
Yeah.
And so there's parts of fate that can be changed.
Yes.
She only has so much control, and she has to work within the parameters of the script and what's being done.
Right.
But it's like, Non-Hung is like her one main blind spot in all of this, because she's like, okay, well, I know XYZ could potentially change, but he won't change.
Right.
And I guess that's how bad this drama was originally, because we see, you know, when the drama starts, it starts at this very pivotal point where he's kind of expecting certain types of shit to go down.
Yes.
And so it's like, you know, this 3-way stabbing that happens and all this, and it's just like, you know, oh, okay, so we know we're going to come back to this one main point at some point.
Maybe.
And the things that tick off with the little boy and the candy and the kids playing and getting in front of the horses and the palanquin, we're going to see all that come to a head again, but the context is going to change. It's like people have the capacity to change their fate on some level. And there is some talk about fate and are we predestined to certain things? Like, is Non-Hung destined to just be this dastardly person when in reality we see it in the background?
Yes.
He's doing the best that he can to try to just avoid dying himself. Like, he's trying to avoid dying.
Right.
They're both after, like, kind of on the same goal, but for very different reasons. And so it's fascinating seeing those parallels where, okay, I don't want to die. I don't want this. I'm just trying to make it through the next day.
Right.
And it's like playing chess in a sense, but it's like, he's not instigating it. It's just all these circumstances. And we forgot to talk about Yiting, which is her sister.
Yes.
And her sister is just like this very straight-laced, straightforward person. Mm-hmm. She doesn't seem like she wants to get married. She doesn't like flirting. She's just like, why am I doing all this? Like, what is the point? Like,
practically, it's like all these women think she is not attracted to it at all. She seems like she's already a modern day woman just trapped in the script. If she could go off and like study and become like a doctor or a physician, she would love to do that. She doesn't want to be confined to being a lady, especially considering who's chasing her. And she's being chased by the 18th prince, who apparently has fallen in love with her at first sight. And she's just like, I want nothing out of it. You are an idiot, and I don't like idiots.
And not even like a likable idiot, because he's just so childish and silly. It's like, no one can take you seriously as a potential partner, but most girls would be like, oh my gosh, that's going to be the future king. You know, let me get some clout, let me get some power, some stature. She's not interested in none of that shit. She just wants to be independent. She wants to just live her life, you know, being a spinster with 7 cats. Just, you know,
just like, get it.
Following her happiness. And what makes it worse is her mother is trying to instigate getting her and 18th Prince together. And it's just like, it's awkward because she's doing her own little stuff. And I hate it because her mom, number one, is not listening to her daughter. Like,
not at all.
She's been very, like, explicit about what she wants and what she doesn't want.
To be left alone, really.
But it's just like, of all the people, are you really so desperate that you're going to want to hook her up with this buffoon who probably would not make it 2 weeks into his rule before something happens?
Well, because his status still, even regardless, she will still be empress of some sort. So,
yeah.
And that's all that matters to her mom, because I'm like, that's bragging rights. Oh my gosh, my daughter's the empress. Hello. And so I'm like, I was telling you, like, she gives me such, like, Mrs. Bennet vibes.
Yeah.
For sure. And so she kind of finds, like, her like, extraordinary kind of, like, love or romance. And because on one of the occasions that Na-hung visits her as his alter ego, of course, each time some people, or like us as the viewer, or E-Teen gets an impression of him, he cuts like this beautiful silhouette on the rooftop, cape flowing, and of course he's wearing his Kung Lao hat.
Looking like a badass.
Looking like a badass. And we're immediately just saying, hot of this. And so, you know, she sees him, and of course he speaks to her, but of course this is Na-hung. But in the other preceding times that she runs into him, it's actually his second in command that's wearing his armor, because most of the time he's not at home because he's up there doing things as his real self, and of course dealing with Yi-Ming. And so as he's pursuing that, it seems like she practically is like has become infatuated with him. And so she drew him 73 pictures in 3 days.
Yeah, so she becomes like immediately obsessed with him. It's like, you know, I can make you fall in love with me. And what's so funny is the second hand, his right hand man, I forgot his name, like Wang or something like that.
I think it's like Shang Guang, but Rasa Wang's character.
Shang Guang, yeah. But he is a giant flirt. He just cares about laying about, being pretty and drinking, and he's very, very fine.
He's fine, but he's lazy.
But he takes on the alter ego mantle at some points, kind of doing work in his stead. And, you know, she shows up to the Water Crescent place or whatever, and, you know, of course, Non-hung is out. Like, he's out doing his stuff. So when she shows up and whatever, and she's just kind of getting a feel for the place, and people are hitting on her and all this other stuff, and she kind of gets into a fight low-key. Yeah. Kind of like what her sister kind of went through, where she, you know, again, these unsavory men being, you know, silly and shitty toward women. But, you know, he kind of stops the fight and from her getting harmed. And so, like, he's going through and picking out flowers and things. And as he's, like, going through different flowers, trying to figure out what the appropriate one that is good for her, she's like, oh, peonies, that's basic. Yes. Or, what was it? Like, daffodils.
Like, daffodils, gardenias, or, like, lilies or whatever. Make up your own flower here, but...
That's lame. That's dumb. That's silly. And then he picks out this long jade bamboo. It's something special and unique. It's not a flower per se, but it sticks out, and he hands it over to her, kind of like this little favor, like, here, you know, this is my, you know, apology for the stuff that you went through, blah blah blah. Yes. And she just instant love. And I'm like, girl, same, me too. Like, I don't blame her. And so she starts showing up almost every day, trying to get a feel for what's going on with him. But what's so funny is, like, they accidentally meet. She doesn't know who he is. Yes. But
the real self.
He meets as his real self. And when, you know, she spots him, he has his arm around two women trying to...
Because it's raining.
It's raining. So he's being his charming self, trying to, oh, here's an umbrella. You two could share. And you see him going from woman to woman, just doing his little flirty thing. And she's like, oh, you're
a pervert.
A dirty little pervert. And he's like, just scandalized. Like, I know I'm a flirt. I know I'm a hoe.
But I don't need you saying that.
He just takes so much offense to it. And
especially since, like, he also, like, I'm sorry, but he, like, takes offense of that because he knows whose sister she is. And so it's almost just like, y'all two are cut from the same cloth. What is wrong with y'all?
Right.
So
she starts showing up and she's like, yeah, I bet I can make you fall in love with me in like
3 days.
3 days and just give me some time. So he goes out of his way, dressed as alter ego, to act as a complete cat. He takes her gambling and all this other stuff.
But she turns around on him. He's just like, if you don't want to be here, because he ends up putting her amongst the bed.
Yeah.
And stuff. She's like, okay, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and like hold the hand. And she ends up sweeping the floor. But you find out that they're all pretty much in on it. And then the next day she's like, okay, we're going to go shopping. So we go shopping. And so he pretty much like is terrible to her the entire time. You know, anything she picks up or any picture she's being drawn for, he practically ruins and like, you know, tells her like that's ugly or that's not looking good, or what do you think about this? Why are you spending this much on this? Making her day very crummy until she gets to a shop, I guess like for a dress, and she's like, I'm gonna wear this, you know, a day or two and like be with my friends. And it's a very beautiful dress and robe and stuff. And he said like, yeah, it looks ugly on you. Why would you ever spend something like this? And you know, it seems like you're doing this essentially to get attention. And of course, like he's saying this loudly in the shop and it's full of people.
Yes.
And so now she's just getting embarrassed. And so she's like, bump it. Don't worry about coming tomorrow. And so she goes and leaves the shop. And I was, at first I'm like, aren't you going to change like that? But I figured that, yeah, she had already paid for any of the things that was made for her. And so you find out that she made matching outfits for the two of them. She had like a whole bunch of masks made. So he is feeling very, very bad about that. That he pretty much took her kindness for granted. And so I think like in the next episode, because I think that's what we kind of ended at, is that I think in the next few episodes, their relationship will start catching fire.
Yeah, catching feelings.
Yeah, I mean, you can already tell us there's some feelings on his side already.
Yeah, because he, you know, they were talking about like how things wouldn't work out between them because, oh, you live this life of luxury. You're a noble woman. You don't know anything about real world issues. I have no job. I'm penniless. I live on the streets basically. I'm into all these shady little dealings, and she's like, that's okay. Our love can overcome all that. Practically. I have money. I can take care of you.
She's like, listen, like I got money, I got properties. Like, baby, I'm good. I can be your sugar mama. That's pretty much what she's up to.
And
like,
you know, up until this point, he's just wanted to live a life of luxury and just laziness and just doing nothing. So really, ideally, like that's the life that he wanted.
That's exactly what to be taken care of.
But he does not want to be tied down. He does not want any commitment. And so like he sabotaged all of those things to kind of keep her away. Yeah. And then we see the throwback of him talking to Nan-hung about like, oh yeah, give me just 3 or 4 days, And so we see like this parallel of I can make you want to take me in and all these other things. Right. And not only does he have Nan-hung's sort of like respect and trust as being his backup in case he has to fulfill his own duties as his real life self, he's become the default second boss. And so that's how people refer him to. He was instrumental in several of the events that happened where Nan-hung had to pretend like he was in on his own assassination attempts. And it's just like, oh, damn, like... yeah. We see him take on more responsibility, even though he does not want to be responsible. He does not want to be tied down. He doesn't want to be...
At the same time, like, this is for the 5 minutes I'm asking you to help out. Like, get over it.
Yeah, and so it's just funny, like, seeing his sort of turn from being this flirty, shameless playboy instigator that's always behind the scenes, like... maybe you should get so-and-so together. Right. And in the middle of all of this going on, again, Nan-hung is trying to get this weapon thing or whatever. Yeah. Somehow he goes back to his old quarters or something from where his mom had stayed. And he's going back in time, like, through old scripts and stuff that he had written as a kid or whatever, and mementos from him and when Gwing-hong were young and they were friends. He was writing these long, nice, cute, eloquent poems, and he's like, horse, 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 horse,
horse, horse, horse, oh, horse, 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 of course. and all that stuff, but he still kept that momentum. So it goes to show that that friendship in childhood at the time had meant so much to him.
It was something important to him, but he does stumble across this old military manual from Gui Hong's father when he was still alive. Gui Hong gave it to him as a child, was like, hey, since you're teaching me how to ride a horse, here, you can have this.
Yes.
And what he was looking for was in that manual the whole time.
Yes.
And he's going through it just like, you know, it's old, it's beaten, but then he finds this slip of paper that has his chemistry formula on there,
Yes.
and parts of it are burned off, and that's how he figures out, like, oh crap, I think this is the key to this weapon.
Yes.
The only person I know who would understand these strange symbols
is my strange girl.
Is my girl. And so in the meantime, while this is all happening, it's like him, his three stooge underlings are trying to figure out how to find this formula. And they do bring her in at one point, and she causes this whole...
Oh my gosh, she exploded. And she's like, yeah, chemistry was not my strong suit. I'm like, girl, me too.
Why are you making me do chemistry? This is why I became an actress.
Practically.
But
I mean, sometimes like arts and sciences do not mix. And so that's how it is. Sometimes it's either one or the other. And so now that they're trying to find who can pretty much decipher what this formula means. And I mean, this is like a formula that we immediately discern, like, okay, this was from like the elements from the periodic table.
Uh-huh.
What also had happened, of course, is that Gui Hong has been taking L's and he's up there drinking heavily, and he even like imagines his father being there. And the thing about this is that with him losing so much, because by this time he had lost his engagement to Yi Meng, and of course Yi Meng has been telling him repeatedly, I don't mess with you like that anymore. Like, no. We have changed and we have evolved, but he's refusing to take no for an answer. And so he is thinking that, well, there's one last thing of his father that still remains, is that military book that he gave to Na Hung. So him and his second in command, they go searching through his study, and for like 3 nights they haven't been able to find anything. The thing about this, like the first night after he first goes in there, Na Hung had noticed that some things are not in place, like, because he has everything nice and stacked and neat, and something was out of place. Things are moved, like somebody's been searching through his stuff. And so he had surveillance put on his study, and so now we're looking at day 3 of this, and so he catches Gui Hong in the act that he's in the study. And so he's like, oh, so what are we in here for? He was like, well, just doing like, you know, some double checking, heard some stuff was going down. And he's like, oh, 3 nights in a row? Okay, great. So I figure you were looking for this, and he holds up the book. And so do they start fighting then, or do they just no. Na Hong was like, hey, you practically gave this to me when we were friends. He's like, I gave this to you years ago when we were friends. We're no longer friends. I'm like, yikes. And so, like, did they start, like, coming to, like, I forget, like, how they start coming into, like, fight, because they start squabbling or in the study.
When he starts burning the book.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because he's turning over one of the lanterns and start burning the book. Because, of course, he already has everything he needs out of it. Yeah. So this is another way to cripple his friend. Gui Hong is trying to get this book salvaged however he can. But, of course, like, you know, Na Hung is keeping it out of his reach as they're up there fighting over it until, like, the book is practically already done for even with it still burning. You know all those pages are done. It's cooked. It's done. You feel so sorry for Gui Hong because that was like one of the last things he has got from his father. He also has a horse from his father, but this was the last thing. So he's practically almost lost everything. He's lost his girl. He's lost a lot of his positions. He's lost his father. He's lost the book that his father had left him. So there was a lot of things that has just gone, and a lot of it has been at Na Hung's hands. And so he practically says that he's about to enter his villain era. This is about to be it. So
and on top of that too, we talked about his sword being broken.
That too, yes.
So right. Now Na Hung also has the sword. The sword is in the same area where he has been trying to figure out this whole formula situation. And unfortunately, this whole formula, his lackeys decide to post information. Yeah. It's supposed to be kind of like a secret society where they're trying to bring in scholars on the low to figure this stuff out. But his lackeys post wanted notices giving basically...
banners and stuff like that.
We'll give a reward if you can help us figure this out. And so that draws the ire of Weehong, because Weehong's like, you are stepping out of bounds.
Yeah.
You're posting stuff on city turf. That's my jurisdiction. I'm going to have to take y'all out. Like,
yeah.
So now it's starting to come to a head. And on top of that, Yi Ting, who has been coming over almost every day, trying to find her boo thing and make her fall in love with him, she's kind of like left her own devices after one of her maids is like, oh crap, you left one of your handkerchiefs or whatever. We can't leave that here. It's a personal item. She's just kind of wandering around admiring stuff, and she accidentally triggers a trap door that opens, and it leads directly into the same area where the sword is being kept.
Yeah.
And she decides to take the sword.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and that's when she blackmails him about the 3 days.
Yep. And so it's like, okay, well, I can get you to fall in love with me in 3 days, and then I'll do this for you. You can get your sword back, but you have this for a reason. This is not yours. This belongs to Weehong.
Right.
Why do you have it? What's going on here?
Right.
That's kind of the place that we've kind of left off at this point. We talked about this where Yi Ting is not written as the shameless, terrible, like second female lead. And you see her sort of like gain a lot of respect for Yimeng and how like courageous and I don't want to say flamboyant she is, but she's just so fearless. Like she just does stuff.
And different. Like she seems like she's like different. Yi Ting had mentioned to Yimeng is that it's like you're here and you're present in the world, but it doesn't seem like you want to get attached too much.
Right.
Because it's like, we also know it's because she's not supposed to be there for a long period of time, Essentially, once the story is done, then she's out of it.
Right.
That's usually how it happens in most transmigrated dramas. And so, when it comes to this, it seems like, her sister, of course, is like trying to keep things at bay because she knows that this world is practically fleeting.
Mm-hmm. And with the way that things keep changing with the story, she's not sure how this is going to end anymore. She knows the main beats, but there's so many ways that things could turn and go left or whatever. So
or straight
to hell. And it's so funny because as new main characters get introduced and change the fate of the drama, like she's created like these little dolls that represent what's going on, and it's so funny because Nan Hong's doll looks like this devil with black eyes, and like
the skull and stuff like that. Because like, it's the epitome of the devil,
the god of death. You see her conflicted, like, I don't want to like this man, I don't want to feel sympathetic for him. What he's going through is terrible and shitty, and so I'm interested to see like what happens over the next couple episodes and how and when she's going to start connecting that the guy that she likes and the guy that she hates are one and the same.
Right.
And, it was just, I like that part where he's interrogating her as himself. How do you feel about me? And instead of being honest and saying the things that she would have said in front of, I keep messing up his name, Shilu?
You mean his counterpart?
Yeah. She's like,
Li Shilu?
Yeah. He's, oh my God, you're so great, and you're so wonderful, and he knows it's BS, and I think it's just breaking him. Like, she won't be honest with me, she won't level with me when I'm myself, but with this other person, she thinks that she knows and loves, she's in love with him and not me. And
right. Well, it's like he's still happy that she's in love with some aspect of him. That's what kind of changes the plot for him. Her falling in love with this other person for him. Because I think we kind of like didn't talk about much about the boat incident, and probably not because we're kind of running a little long here, but it's the fact that even with him as his counterpart self, that she's willing to sacrifice her life, like jump in front of swords and whatnot, and like to protect him and everything. And so, like, that's very foreign because not a lot of people do that in general, let alone her. And so she's up there expressing this kind of protective way about her towards him. And so that was something that also turned him on to her. Yeah. And it was curious about her because it's like, okay, so if you can be that way with me, the counterpart version of me, what about my whole self? Mm-hmm. Could you have ever loved me that way? And so I love the turn that happens, and it breaks my heart that the best part of him that she only believed exists in this other guy, he's also trying to do good with his original self so she can finally take that into account and finally look at him in a different light. But it still seems like she's still up against that script, especially when every single bit there's still like old school dialogue that just keeps creeping in that further deepens her insecurities about, okay, this plot is still flopping around to the same pace that it originally did, and that terrifies her. So I don't know if I want to do predictions weekend. If you want to, I guess you have anything to add or whatever, because I know we've been running a little long.
Yeah, well, we already talked about Wee Hong's turn and his villain era, and I feel like we're going to start to see a very terrible side of him, because up until this point, other than those weird issues with his ego kind of getting in the way of things, you could tell he genuinely does care and love Yimong, but he's not taking the whole breaking off the engagement very well. It's not just the engagement, but that's one of the biggest tipping points, because we've been engaged since childhood and we were meant to be, and his disillusionment, why don't you want me? Why don't you,
It's almost coming off as another possession of his is gone.
And I like Non Hung's mom shipping them together.
Absolutely.
And I'm fainting, and I'm so frail, but here are these pastries if you want to go follow him and give them to. It's just girl, you are not a good actress.
His mom is so funny, and generally I do not like I guess it just depends on the drama, because a lot of times I don't really like parents that push kids to a certain person, especially when they're just I'm done with this person, I don't want to be with this person, whatnot, and they still push. With her, I'm I didn't mind it, because I think it's a refreshing thing where she's doing this for the sake of her son's happiness, which I can't be mad about, because she also clocks and knows that something different out of my son I hadn't seen before, and I really want to cultivate that. Plus, like I said, my ship has sailed. I am on that boat.
Let's
go.
I'm
going to do that. So, absolutely. I say if I have a prediction, I definitely for sure think that she's gonna get a reveal. The mask is gonna come off, and then she's gonna realize, oh, the man that I love and the man I do not like is gonna be the same. It's one and the same. And to see her wrestle and contend with that, will she be immediately accepting, or will she just turn him away? I don't know. So I can see that happening in the future, because that's something that's gonna have to be consolidated, because that has been a large part of his identity for about 10-ish episodes.
Right.
Plus. So we're going to get down to that part of it soon, I think.
And I'm interested to see how long he can keep this up, because even though he has noble status and everything, his comings and goings are still being noticed in some capacity. And I'm wondering how long it's going to take as more people pick up on the fact when he's gone, somehow this guy appears, and vice versa. How is he able to do this? What's going on? And now that Yiting has realized, there's a sword here, there's a secret little society here, there's all this secrecy and all this other stuff going on. I'm wondering if there's going to be a point where she accidentally mixes up the person that she's in love with Non Hung, and vice versa, or how that could happen, because it's there is a beat where Non Hung and the sister are going to get caught together, and it reveals that he's cheating and he's being callous and rude, and it's oh, that's your brother-in-law. Well, actually, he's going to be my husband.
Yes.
And da-da-da-da-da.
It's kind of giving off Hakeem and Simi at the end. It's
actually, he's the prince.
He's the prince. It's who told you that?
Who told you that?
It's oh man, it's gonna be messy. I think it's still gonna be comical and messy, or probably they're gonna have some Scooby-Doo hijinks where people are going in between rooms and stuff like that, shuffling back and forth. So I think that's gonna happen. As for the end, I kind of want to leave it open-ended. I don't want to speculate on it. I just want to enjoy the ride, and I guess just follow back up on the later half of this episode, whether it's 38 or 40 episodes. We'll see when Vicky gets through posting it as of our time by next Sunday. So
yeah, but this has been a fun ride. I like this drama. I like how it's funny when it knows to be funny. It knows when it needs to be heartfelt and sentimental, and I feel like it has a nice balance of the two. Tonally, it knows when shifts need to happen, and I like how they've been utilizing music up until this point, because the music has done a great job of buffering in, like,
yes,
you know, a lot of those scenes. They know when to, okay, we're done with the silliness, like we need to get down to the heart,
the
and
seriousness.
yeah, so it's been a good run so far. Yeah, I'm a little bit scared because I'm like, oh no, Gwing Hong is about to lose his shit. It's
Oh,
gonna be
absolutely.
bad. And I'm like, I'm worried about the king slash emperor and his sadistic ways. I don't know what's gonna happen. 18th Prince is gonna be 18th Prince,
Yes.
and I don't see him really changing all that dynamically because he's such a buffoon. Unless I feel like if he does change, it's gonna be too little, too late.
Yeah, I think so too. That ship is already sailed. I think that's, I mean, what we see is what we get.
Mhm.
And I mean, the best thing about him is like when eventually he'll go off screen permanently. I mean, like at least the character. So
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily saying to kill him because I'm like it really wouldn't serve
Mm-mm.
unless you find out that he was actually like a freaking Lex Luthor all this time. I don't know. I guess we will see when we get through it. But I guess, are you ready to continue watching on?
Yep, let's do it.
All right. Well, we're going to continue watching on. We'll let you know more about our thoughts on the second half.